The draft is behind us. Winners, losers, who drafted well, who drafted poorly besides the Atlanta Falcons. We will tell you. Plus, what do Diesel and I think about an 18-game NFL season? Surely, I like the sound effect because I might agree with you. I might agree with you, Diesel.
Who's surprised that Roger wants more games?
More money, more TV games, all coming up. Plus, what happened this past weekend? South Carolina, Clemson, Lamont Paris continues to cook. A little bit to get to today on the program, Diesel, and I say a little bit tongue-in-cheek because we have a loaded show coming your way, a ton of audio from the NFL draft, as well as our thoughts on what South Carolina and Clemson baseball did over the weekend. A huge Braves guest coming up, Jake Mastriani. Full throttle today, wire to wire. Today's one of those days you need to turn it on and leave it on because we have a ton to get to. He's Diesel, I'm Cole Bryson, and this is Wire to Wire on the Fan Upstate. Glad you could be with us today on this Monday edition. Diesel, winners and losers in the 2024 NFL Draft. I do think that this past weekend's draft was very entertaining. I kept myself viewing and entertained more than I thought I would throughout the weekend. I stayed plugged in rather, better than I thought I would. You want to start with winners or losers?
It's always fun to talk about who screwed it up more.
Perfect.
Right? So let's start with the losers.
Losers, Diesel and I's opinion on who did the worst in the NFL draft. Let's go one at a time, team by team.
Yep.
You give me the first loser in your opinion.
This is the clear and obvious answer at loser. I ask anyone, and they will give you this team first. It's the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons screwed the pooch. Why? Why would you sign Kirk Cousins to a huge deal? 4 years, $180 million, $90 million of it guaranteed, and then go draft a quarterback in the first round. Like, if you wanted to draft a quarterback in the second round, like the best group of 5 quarterback or a middle of the pack power 5 quarterback, that makes sense. Nobody would question that. They'd be like, you know what? Kirk is getting kind of old. He's coming off
injury prone. Yep.
So let's hire, let's sign a guy who won a lot of games, but maybe at a smaller power 5 school or a group of 5 school, and let's go from there.
Yeah.
But no, you go out and get one of the top quarterbacks in this draft who's already old AF, who's basically the same age. I think he shares a birthday with Kirk Cousins. Both of them are this close to signing up for their AARP accounts. And then you go sign it. Why would you do that?
So
it doesn't make any sense.
I agree with you. And a little teaser coming up at 4:00. Diesel, you and I will try to objectively allow 2 people in the sports media world to change our opinion. We'll see if we can do that at 4:00.
That's fine.
I have the Falcons as well as a loser. I agree with you. Listen, the fact of the matter is, we talked about it Friday, getting Penix is not the problem. We like Penix. You and I both like Penix. We like what he can do. And I kind of like Falcons quarterback's name, Michael, right? They have done pretty well in the past. I don't have a problem with that. The issue is what they did before the draft. So I also have the Falcons as a loser. I only have one more loser, Diesel, but I want to hear your loser first because I do not agree with you on yours.
Yeah, my pick for the second loser stays right in the NFC South division. And I think the Carolina Panthers kind of screwed it up a little bit. I'm fine. I'm fine with the Xavier Legette pick. Okay. I don't have a problem with that. I like Xavier Legette. I think he's going to have a fine career in the NFL. So everything that I have to say about the Carolina Panthers being losers in this draft comes from the picks after that.
Oh,
tell me why. Tell me why you drafted Jonathan Brooks, a running back from Texas, in the second round, when you need so many more things more than you need running back right now. When you have a quarterback who you plan to make throw the ball a lot, when you really need elite offensive linemen, like somebody who, knows how to play the center position, when you need tight ends, when you need pass catchers, why do you go running back? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that?
It's funny you say that because a couple of weeks ago, I brought running back up. And I did get a lot of pushback from our texters and our listeners and our Tolos about running back. I just said, I remember talking about how I didn't love Chuba Hubbard and Miles and their running back room. I think Diesel, the reason they did, and again, I'm fine with it. I think that they are so invested in their quarterback. And again, I know people think, well, running back's not a quarterback. Well, I think that they went, okay, we're going to invest in our quarterback. We're going to give him a good receiver in Leggett. And then I'm playing devil's advocate here, playing the other side of what you're saying. I believe they said, okay, well, what makes good, quarterbacks even more successful in the league is a strong running game. I do think that Jonathan Brooks is a huge pickup for the Panthers. I really, really like it. And I think that eventually, Diesel, it'll make Bryce Young's life easier.
You do know that he's coming off of ACL surgery, right?
Yeah, just get a new one. No big deal.
I mean, I know that Jonathan Brooks was really good at Texas before he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But then he got hurt. And so that you have to, man, I hope they did MRIs on his knee. I hope, they had, Bud Kilmore or whatever the coach he was from Varsity Blues back in the room somewhere injecting his knee with a cortisone shot because the dude, he's damaged goods. And I unless he's an elite pass catching running back or an elite blocking running back, and I haven't seen any of that. I'm not saying that he isn't, but I haven't seen that in his bios. I just don't know why you reach for a running back early in the second round at number 46. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I also think they screwed the pooch by moving around too much.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. We talked about it last week, how we just wanted them to keep it simple. Don't screw around. Don't move too many guys around. Don't trade back and back and back. What do they do? Exactly that.
I want to hear what Lance Zierlein had to say on Jonathan Brooks, because I think the Panthers fans out there really want to be sold on the fact that Brooks can be a game changer, and I hope he can. And I hear you, Diesel. He did come off injury. So, and when you look at what Zierlein said about his weaknesses, is that's his very first point. Suffered torn ACL in November, the end of the season, to your point. Another weakness, still learning to press the hole and set up blockers on zone runs, needs to run with more pace and choosing his lanes against pro speed. Strength, tire should be full of tread, given that he has just 238 college carries to his name. NFL caliber accelerator as an outside runner, flows through run lanes with excellent bend and quickness. And then good hands and great post-catch wiggle create added value for offenses. I think he's a guy that they looked at and said, man, we have to give Batman a Robin. I really do.
I do appreciate the fact that they brought in Jatavian Sanders from Texas. So you've got a running back, tight end who know each other very, very well.
Sure.
I mean, that has to count for something.
Might help.
The familiarity there. Maybe they can together kind of introduce some blocking schemes, things that they really like to do together. So maybe that I just don't see why you reach that far. If you've got a early third round pick, you can probably get yourself a serviceable running back early in the third round. I just don't understand why you go there in two.
Maybe they look at it, going back to what I said about only 238 carries. Maybe they look at it from that perspective and say, look, man, this guy is full of potential.
Yeah, but
he hasn't been worn down.
Just freshly patched still has a hole in it.
Well, hopefully that hole, as long as that hole, that hole doesn't come back to bite them again, they should be fine. All right, let's get to our winners. So did I miss any of your losers, Diesel?
No, I had the Falcons and the Panthers as my two biggies.
I had the Falcons and the Broncos. I wasn't really thrilled with what Denver did on the loser side. I really do. I like Bo Nix. I like what he did in college. He has a ton of experience, right? He's played a lot of snaps. However, when you look at the rest of their draft, they went third round, Jonah Ellis from Utah, linebacker, wide receiver, Troy Franklin from Oregon, round 4. Round 5, they went cornerback, Chris Adams, Missouri. Round 7, they went with another receiver. I just don't feel like Denver, in my opinion, has an identity. Even though they have a quarterback, Sean Payton yet has, for as good as a coach as he has yet to prove to me that he's built an identity in Denver. And for that, I don't love what they did. I hope that a quarterback solves all their problems. but I just don't know that it will. I don't know that it will. Let's get to winners. Who's your first winner, Diesel?
First winner on my list are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, they double dipped at offensive line early. They took a wide receiver, Roman Wilson, in the second round. I think they got themselves really good, really young on the line to help support Russell Wilson there in Pittsburgh. So I like going, the old term. I love this term, the hog mollies.
Yeah,
early. I like getting the two best offensive linemen that you can get early. I mean, Pittsburgh did not have a strong offensive line last year. They're graded down towards the bottom half of the NFL. They have problems, so they addressed those problems very, very well early when they could. So I like what Pittsburgh did.
It's funny you said that. Spur Daddy on the stream said all of those big offensive linemen the Steelers got tell me they're about to back to player old-fashioned Steelers smash mouth football again. It does seem like they had a goal to really just go heavy and try to go back. I don't want to say go back to old-fashioned football, but revamp their offensive line. I agree with you. I like
the
it.
Coach and Rudy says nobody, and I mean nobody, comes into our house and pushes us around. Yeah.
I'm impressed that you know that quote like that. I really am. I'm impressed. Dallas, my Cowboys, to your point, it's not really sexy picking offensive line early. My Cowboys kind of did the same thing, but hopefully it pays off down the long run, right?
Here's something we're going to get into early. We're going to get into the very next segment. We're going to get into bust rates, first-round draft bust rates over the last 25 years. I'm going to tell you exactly why.
Okay.
Going O-line makes a heck of a lot of sense.
All right, good. Give me some positive energy toward my team.
Yeah.
Then. So you, first winner, you have Pittsburgh Steeler. First winner, I have, and this pains me to say, Philadelphia Eagles. I hate the Eagles, but love what the Eagles did, Diesel. They took a cornerback, Quinion Mitchell, first round. So they're saying, okay, we're really going to get our back of our defense better. Second round, Cooper DeJean, DB, Iowa, who you and I talked about. We didn't think he would fall that late, number 40 overall, one of the better DBs in the draft. So they went DB, and then traded up to Washington on Friday, made another trade to San Francisco, got an outside linebacker from Houston, got Will Shipley, regardless of how you feel. I'm not the biggest Will Shipley fan. I think people know that already. But they got a wide receiver from Texas A&M with a ton of upside, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. from Clemson. They got a wide receiver from Florida State and Johnny Wilson, a guard. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys, Diesel. 9 picks, man, that I really feel like are really solid picks. I hate to say it, but Philadelphia was my first winner.
Yeah, and I have them as well as one of mine.
You do?
Yeah, and if anybody hadn't heard yet, if you hadn't heard, we talked about this on, I think it was Friday of last week. We talked about the video of Panthers owner Dave Tepper taking the hat off of the guy inside the restaurant. He was allegedly wearing a Philadelphia Eagles hat.
He was.
So maybe it was Dave Tepper coming in and saying, "Hey, this is my city. This is the Panthers city. We need you to take that hat off." He should have given him a Panthers hat. Like, why do you not have that on you, right?
Yeah, you think.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So many people, man, be like, if you take a hat off my head, you're getting punched in the throat.
James on the stream says, "Go Eagles." Well, James, I'm not going to agree with you on that, but I hear you.
I do think they did well, especially late with Trotter. Shipley, I can give or take. I mean, who knows? Who knows what he's going to be at the NFL level? I don't think either one of us have super high hopes on Will Shipley at the next level.
Sure.
I don't see him as a guy that's going to play for 10 years in the NFL. Most running backs, almost none of them do. But I do think it means a little something to get 2 guys from the same team in there, so they have that familiarity. And I like the Trotter pickup more than I do like the Will Shipley.
I do too.
I've got as my number 2 Cole simply because of one player, because I think they got the best player in this draft, the Washington Commanders.
Yep.
When they drafted Jaden Daniels in the first round, I think they got the best, most focused, most hard-nosed quarterback they could get in this draft. And I think they absolutely killed it. Absolutely killed it. They went defensive tackle in the second round at number 36. They went Mike Sainstrill from Michigan at number 50. I think that's a quality pickup.
Mhm.
I think they just did very well overall, and most of it comes from QB1 that they took.
Yeah, and they took that Kansas State tight end who I heard a lot about that fell to 53. No, I agree. I also had Washington as number 2. Again, they're in my division, my team's division, so I hate to say it, but they had a great draft. Jaden Daniels, to me, has a ton of upside. Dan Quinn, we know that he's a really good head coach. Other than blowing the 28-3 Super Bowl lead, he's been phenomenal, right?
Yeah, you get yourself an elite level quarterback who
Yep.
is not a prima donna.
My next 2 winners before we get to what Roger Goodell said. Panthers, my next winner. I love what the Panthers did with Leggett, Jonathan Brooks, Travion Wallace, Jatavius Sanders. They also got linebacker Michael Barrett. I like the Panthers. I think they had a good draft. And then the Minnesota Vikings is my last winner. I think that J.J. McCarthy, it's grown on me a little bit. I think that he will be a pretty good NFL quarterback. And then you pair him with, on the other side, linebacker Dallas Turner from Alabama. I love that pick. They had a solid draft, did the Minnesota Vikings. I really like what they did. However, I did not like what I heard on the Pat McAfee show. And if you have not heard this, Diesel, I want your thoughts.
I haven't heard this.
And this is the Commish, Roger Goodell. You can text the show and give us your thoughts as well, 71307. We already added 1 game, Diesel. Well, Roger Goodell, he wants to add 1 more. I don't know how I feel about this, but here's Roger Goodell.
Preseason game of the regular season any day. That's just picking quality, right? So if we got to 18-2, that's not an unreasonable thing. The other thing it does, which I thought you were going to, is that ends up on President's Day weekend, which is a 3-day weekend, which makes a Sunday night, and then you have Monday off. So that's
Now we're cooking.
See,
now we're cooking.
Did you talk to the president about having the Monday after Super Bowl off too?
Yeah,
I want to play that beginning one more time.
replace a preseason game with a regular season any day.
He said he would rather replace a preseason with a regular season game any day.
I mean, in theory, that makes sense. I think in theory, most of us are into that. I mean, nobody watches preseason games, especially once you get to number 3 and number 4. Nobody watches.
So then he goes on to say it extends it by a calendar week, which would put Super Bowl Sunday on a 3-day weekend, which is President's Day. Dude, let me ask a crazy question.
Why can't we just do that anyway?
Well, it should be, number one. I agree with you. But does everybody get President's Day off?
Most people do.
Do we?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we get President's Day off, right?
I don't know. I didn't know if President's Day was one of those things like the bank, stock market, they were closed.
What do you do if it's President's Day, but you don't like the current president? Do
you take it off.
Work?
No, you take it off.
Oh, okay. Okay. I
Take
see
it off.
how you people are.
Yeah, you got to take it off. Especially
all those people who hated Trump for 4 years, they still took President's Day off.
Especially
all the people who hate Joe Biden, they still take President's Day off.
Listen, if the Super Bowl's before it, it doesn't become President's Day. It becomes
Super Bowl Monday.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't hate that. I really don't. Now, 18 games, I don't know if I love 18 games. I don't think adding games helps the quality of play down the line.
I'd be willing to bet that the NFL Players Association had something to say about that, Roger.
Oh, sure. I'm sure they did. There's no way.
Whoa, what? You're not going to pay us anymore? About that.
Again,
about that.
Don't we all want, I say all, I guess Roger Goodell doesn't care, Diesel. Don't we want, at the end of the season, all of the stars healthy? Don't we want everybody available? Adding another game, it just worries me.
Well, it should. I mean, it should. An extra game is extra wear and tear. It's at the end of the season when bodies are already, bruised and broken and banged up.
Yeah.
I understand. I mean, a lot of these guys like preseason games because, well, it's a third of a game that you have to play, or it's a series that you have to play. You're not out there going out and playing 4 quarters and dozens of snaps. I get it.
All right, before Diesel sends us to break, what the one piece of audio, I have a ton of audio for you today, but one piece of audio that I loved. One player, Diesel, who thought his draft phone call was a prank call. You got to hear this.
Jonah.
Hey, how you doing?
Chris Ballard with the Colts. Welcome to Indy, man. We're drafting you right here.
That's not a prank call, lady.
It's not a prank call, I promise you.
Hey, Cole, it's been a stressful day.
I know, and everybody's probably recruiting the crap out of you right now, aren't they?
Yeah, you ain't lying.
No, you can go tell them to kiss your ass. You coming to Indy.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I ain't
Absolutely.
gonna let you down, Coach.
I know you won't. Hold on. I'm going to have you.
The
talk to
Colts
Coach
player that got drafted thought it was a prank call. That's incredible. Maybe, do you think he was
Wow.
getting prank calls
It
before?
would have to be. It would have to be like it had to be. I mean, why would you
Sad,
go
though,
there?
man.
Why would you think that? It's your draft day. Why would you think that?
Are you
Has
sure?
has that ever happened before?
Oh, I'm sure it has,
Have
right?
people, yeah, we got to find out. We got to try to get get somebody who's gone through the NFL draft.
Yeah.
If we could get like a Xavier Legette on the show and ask him does this happen? I genuinely don't know if this happens or not.
It's sad that it does, but I'm sure it does.
Who's getting a hold, Clemson fans getting a hold of Gamecock players' phone numbers, posting them out there on the internet. Oh, man, that's
surely
brutal.
not between rivals.
That's rough. Cole, as much as we want all of these guys to be successful, and we do, except for Caleb Williams, some of them just aren't going to make it. There's just facts. There's facts that most of these guys don't make it. So we're going to go back 25 years, get you a big sample size, and we're going to look and see what are the bust rates position by position in the first round. We're going to define what a bust in the first round is, tell you how often they bust, and then, Cole, you and I are going to predict. We're going to predict Schadenfreude. We're going to guess which of these players will bust at their given positions. That's coming up next here on Wire to Wire. He's Cole Bryson. I'm Diesel. This is the Fan Upstate. Next Wednesday, Tolos, we're going to be live in Spartanburg.
Yes.
Yeah, Warren H. Abernathy Highway in Spartanburg. We're bringing the show. Cole Bryson and myself will be there, and we want to see you. We want to have you come by, show Ingles some love for showing us as much love as they have over the years. We also want you to come out and see if you can win a $25 gift card. That's your dinner for the night, you know? You get to be a hero. Come home with food. And your wife, girlfriend, and be like, I don't have to cook. I don't have to make anything. Like, yeah, because I won a $25 gift card from Ingles. That could be yours. That's next Wednesday at the Ingles on Warren H. Abernathy Highway in Spartanburg, right up there close to you, Cole.
About time, man.
You're like, man, I've been driving all over the upstate. Need to find an Ingles close by, and you got one.
Can't wait.
So congratulations to you. Hey, we're live here on 97.7 FM in Greenville, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg on your phone with the free Odyssey app. And, of course, whatever platforms you like to podcast on, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and on the Odyssey app. We are available across all of those platforms, so do us a favor and go there, hit follow, hit subscribe, hit like, whatever it is you do to let them know that you want to hear more of our content. Cole, in the last break, we talked about winners and losers in the draft. We went kind of team by team. Now I want to go player by player at certain position groups and see if we can predict which players are going to bust. Because, you know, as much hype as a lot of these guys have coming out of college, the truth is they all can't be great.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of them are going to fail. And that's
the way it is.
That's just the nature
It's
of the
math,
business,
man.
you know?
Probability.
Maybe you get there and you kind of hit the ceiling on your skill set, and it just doesn't work out that way. Maybe your coaches don't have a clue how to get the best out of you. You know, it always fascinates me, Cole, how coaches in college can get the best out of players. I'm thinking like Matt Leinart. I'm thinking Sam Darnold. These are guys who were both elite at Southern Cal.
Mm-hmm.
They were both highly touted. Everybody wanted them. And then they both get to the league and they suck.
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen? How does that
Different
happen?
game, man.
You would think.
Yeah.
You would think that like all of these guys on their offensive line, they're all pros. You know, it's the best of the best that work their way up, right?
You'd think.
You would think, but it doesn't always work out that way. Before we get into our position by position bust rate and start predicting who might bust at some of the key positions, I do want to get to Delvin, who's been hanging on the phone for a while. Delvin, how you feeling, bro?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Great. Delvin,
good, man.
What's up?
A couple things. You talking about prank call? I don't know what you called it a prank call, but Aaron Rodgers said when he had to wait a long time, his buddies would call in and tell him he got to straighten his tie out, kiss his mom, and do all that stuff while he was right there, way they was calling him on the phone. And DJ, why you so down on the Panthers? You said damage goods. Do you remember Wilson McGahee and Frank Gore? Frank Gore played with two knees with 20 years. You saw how his career turned out.
Okay, you're talking about two guys in the history of the NFL, Cole, who have Delvin, who have transcended knee issues. Two guys. Okay, I'm working off of probabilities here. I hope that he's good.
You down, man. If there was Derrick Henry right there, you still be down. You'll find something wrong with Derrick Henry.
I hope that Jonathan Brooks ends up being good, but. Delvin, you know as well as I do, and you can spin it all you want to. You can make a straw man argument by changing the subject, talking about this guy, that guy, whoever, all you want to. But you know as well as I do, the facts play out that if you've had an ACL injury, the likelihood of you not performing as well after that is pretty low. I'm not making this up, okay?
Yeah, I'm not making that. You saw it happen in the league. You saw Adrian Peterson. Look how he went to say after he tore his ACL. What did he do? He went on and had a 2,000-yard season the following year.
Yeah. You've named off 3-4 guys in the history of the NFL who have done well after coming back from an ACL surgery. You're talking about Delvin. You're talking about anecdotal evidence here. You're not playing the numbers here. You're not playing the math, Delvin.
I'm not playing math, but you're saying that it's damaged good before you even got in the league. You don't know that.
Well, I know that he is damaged. I know for a fact that he had something tear inside of his knee, and he had to have surgery to get it repaired.
I'm put you on the spot right now. What you would have said that about William McGahee when you saw the injury, that he was damaged good?
Yeah, I would have said that. Because the facts bear out that injury leads to lowered performance. He transcended it. He beat it, and that's great.
Why can't Dr. Brooks can't do that then?
Because we haven't seen it yet. I'm talking. Okay, Devin, we're done. We're gonna go round and round in circles. You're gonna keep naming guys who had an injury and came back and they were good. Okay, when there's more guys that I could even fathom to come up with off the top of my head of guys who have gotten injured and then didn't perform at the next level. Okay,
I love it.
so there you go. All right, moving on. Look at Delvin, got my hackles up.
I
man.
like it. Just for the record, Delvin, I agree. I like the
Delvin
pick.
loves to call in and break my balls, man. I
love
appreciate
it.
Delvin. He's
Yes.
been a long-time Tolo of the station, and I appreciate you, Delvin.
Yes.
Okay, so define it. What is a first-round bust? What is a bust to you for a player who came out of the first round? Well, here's a very simple way to define it. First round, allegedly best 32 players on the draft board, right? If those guys never go on to be a Pro Bowl and they play fewer than 50 games in their career, start fewer than 50 games in their career, then they're busts, right? They didn't have a long career and they didn't have an elite level career. I think that's a pretty fair definition of a first round bust.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with that.
Paul, here's some numbers for you over a 25-year sample size. And you could move up a year, maybe change these numbers a little bit, move back a year, maybe change these numbers just a little bit, but these are just averages, okay? This is a good representation of what happens to first round picks. Can you guess, Cole, what position group over the last 25 years
I'm not
has
looking.
the highest bust rate in the NFL? First round draft picks. Highest bust rate.
Over the last 25 years,
25
highest bust rate. I have not looked. I have not
looked.
cheated.
It is on the rundown, but I'm glad that
I've got my eyes closed.
Yep.
Man, highest bust rate. I'm going to go offense.
Yeah.
I'm going to go receiver.
You'd be wrong.
Oh, running back?
Mm-hmm.
Is it really?
Running back. It's running back. So this will blow you away, but you kind of have to look back at where the NFL was 25 years ago, right?
Yeah.
To figure out, it'll shock you just how many running backs have gone in the first round. 96 running backs have gone in the first round over the last 25 years. 45 of them, by the definition of never a Pro Bowler, started fewer than 50 games. 45 of them busted, which means 47%.
That's unbelievable.
Like I said,
that's almost half.
Yeah, you got to go back to the year 2000. I'd have to go back and look at those draft classes and figure out, running back was a much higher valued position at the time, and it's not now because the running back market is so flooded with good backs, and they don't get drafted in the first round very much. So I would imagine this 96 number would fall rapidly as you move forward in time, but keep it a 25-year sample size. So running back is the highest bust rate. What's the second highest bust rate? It's not wide receiver.
I'm going to go defense. Would I be right?
No.
All seconds on offense is what? Quarterback.
Quarterback, yeah.
Okay,
40%. 40% of first-round quarterbacks bust.
I thought it'd be the other way around. I thought quarterback would have a higher bust rate than running back.
And see, that's one of those things that's increasing now because we're drafting so many more quarterbacks in the first round than we ever did.
And there were no running backs taking this draft.
Not a single one.
There were. I say no loosely.
Not one in the first round.
Right, and even in the entirety of the draft, it wasn't a running back heavy draft.
Yeah,
I mean it blew my mind.
So here's where it gets where it really doesn't matter what you draft in the first round outside of running back and quarterback because defensive line 35% busted. It's what's crazy, Cole, is 170 guys. That is by far the highest drafted position group in the first round over the last 25 years. Defensive line. 35% bust. Wide receiver, 99 guys have been drafted in the last 25 years. 30% bust. Cornerback, 26% bust. Guard, 22%. Linebacker, 22%. Tight end, 21%. Offensive tackle, 19%. Safety, 14%. And center, 8%. Man, drafting a center in the first round. I know there's not an elite center every single year, but
that's good though.
That is by far the safest position.
What's the percentage?
8%.
And that's on a center or lineman in general. Wow.
Because they break out offensive tackle as its own position.
But are all of the offensive line that low? Because you got to think
guard is 22%. So center's 8. Let's go out.
Okay.
Center's 8%. Guard is 22% bust. tackle is 19% bust.
So you have to. Wow, that blows my mind.
Interior offensive lineman, man, it's a high percentage, especially at the guard spot.
And you saw a lot of teams go guard heavy.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to say guard heavy, but offensive lineman heavy. You really did.
So let's look at this in real life terms here, Cole. So we
Okay.
can't say running back this year because there were no running backs taken in the first round. Who was the first running back off the board? Was it? It wasn't the Panthers.
I'll tell you. I have the list right here. I have the list. You said none in the first round?
None in the first round. It wasn't Jonathan Brooks, was it?
Second round, I'm going down. The first running back was Jonathan Brooks.
There you go. Okay.
46th Diesel.
Yeah. Middle of the second round. So
That blows my mind.
Clearly, there can't be a bust in the first round this year.
Yeah.
That's an anomaly. And it is because of the way the game has changed. But, you're going to see the quarterback bust rate go up. We're going to see the wide receiver bust rate go up as the league drafts more offense heavy. We saw a ton of wide receivers drafted, ton of wide receivers and quarterbacks drafted. So let's go to the two positions that people are going to have more fun predicting busts, okay? 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round. The bust rate for quarterbacks in the first round is 40%. So that means 2.5 of these guys are going to bust. Let's take the under. Let's take the under and say, actually, let's change that. Let's take the over. Let's say that 3 of these 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round bust. You have to make a decision. You have to decide which of these guys will start fewer than 50 games and which of these guys will never make a Pro Bowl. Out of Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, and Bo Nix. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
I want you go first.
Okay. I think the ones who are safe, no bust, meaning they start more than 50 games and they make a Pro Bowl. I'm going to say Caleb Williams, or they make a Pro Bowl, excuse me. I'm going to say Caleb Williams starts more than 50 games. I'm not saying that he's going to be a Pro Bowl guy. Maybe he'll surprise me, but I do think he'll get into the safe category, the hit, based on just the number of games that he's going to play. Because are the Bears really going to go QB over a very short period of time?
No.
No,
I don't think so.
I think Jaden Daniels and the wide receiving core that he's got there in Washington is going to be really good. I think he's going to be one of those guys who wills his team to wins.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to say a similar thing because he's got a lot of wide receivers. He's got a very good receiving room. I'm going to say that J.J. McCarthy hits.
So your safe ones are Williams, Daniels, McCarthy.
Correct. Which means Drake May, Michael Penix Jr., and Bo Nix, in my mind, all bust. And it's not necessarily because of their skill set.
Yeah, who's around them?
To me, it's Drake May is probably going to have a hard time being a hit because of what he's got in his division. He'll be seen as the 3rd or 4th best quarterback in his division until something crazy happens. So you don't make the Pro Bowl if you're the 4th best quarterback in your division.
Yeah.
Michael Penix Jr., because, he's not going to see the field for a long, long time. And you have to start 50 games or make a Pro Bowl to be considered a hit. And for a very similar reason, I'm going to go Bo Nix. He's my question mark there. Bo Nix could be good. Could be. But again, with all the problems they got there in Denver, I just don't see him being a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback.
I agree with your hits and bust except for Michael Penix. I am going to go out on a limb and guess that Michael Penix, even though he's going to be old Diesel by the time he gets to start, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Michael Penix is safe. I think he's safe.
Okay, and do you want to wait till the other side of the break to get in the running back position?
Let's get the running backs, and you have receivers as well?
I'm sorry, not running backs, but receivers. Receivers
yes.
only.
So we will get back to that. And our daily wires, a ton of headlines to get to, all coming up. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate.
man?
Hey, how are you doing, Howie? Will Shipley. Great to talk.
No, I know who you are. I'm calling you.
Yes, sir.
Ready to be picked here?
Oh yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah, you're gonna love Philly. Philly's gonna love you. We got a great room. You're gonna add a lot of mentality to that. Congratulations, you're an Eagle. We're picking you right here, brother. I'm gonna put you on the phone
Yes,
with Coach
sir.
Sirianni. Congratulations.
I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, can't wait.
Hey, Will, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, Coach. How are you?
Hey, congratulations, brother.
Thank you so much.
I'm great now that we got you, man.
Blessing. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no doubt about it. I'm pumped. I appreciate you guys so much.
That's Will Shipley, Diesel, talking to his new head coach, Nick Sirianni. The owner said, I know who you are. I'm calling you.
Hey, you don't sound like Nick Sirianni. You sound like Blake from down the hall freshman year.
Is
I
this
recognize this voice. This is a prank call.
Is this Jake from State Farm? So that's Will Shipley. A ton of daily wires to get to, but first, Diesel, let's hear your wide receivers.
Yeah, I do want to get through this. We'll predict which of these wide receivers will bust, okay? Remember, the wide receiver bust rate is 30%. First round wide receiver bust rate over the last 25 years is 30%. 7 wide receivers were taken in the first round, which means 2 of these wide receivers will bust. Marvin Harrison Jr. went to the Cardinals, Malik Neighbors to the Giants, Rome Odunze to the Bears, Brian Thomas Jr. to the Jags, Xavier Worthy to the Chiefs, Ricky Pearsall to the 49ers, and Xavier Legette to the Carolina Panthers. Of those 7 guys, Cole, you got to pick 2.
Okay.
Who will never make the Pro Bowl or start more than 50 games?
Wow. Of the 2 or of the 7, I have to pick 2 that'll bust.
Pick 2.
I'm going to say Rome Odunze bust in Chicago. I don't think Chicago's a place for receivers to thrive and prosper. And the other one, holy moly, you're going to make me do this? Diesel, I'm going to say, God, I don't like you for this.
Say it.
Xavier Legette. The other ones are not going to bust. They're too good.
Why? Why Xavier Legette?
Ricky Pearsall's not going to bust.
Nope.
Xavier Worthy's not going to bust with Mahomes.
Nope.
Brian Thomas Jr., Marvin Harrison.
Nope.
You got to pick one.
Yeah, you got to pick. Yeah, you got to pick 2.
Oh, I picked 2, so I said Odunze and Legette.
My only difference is because I think the Bears have such. I do have Xavier Legette on there as well for the Carolina Panthers. They've just got a lot to figure out. And again, I think Xavier Legette's going to be a good player for the Carolina Panthers. And I hope he surprises me. But the math plays out. The 2 of these guys will never make the Pro Bowl and won't start more than 50 games for their team. And I think Xavier Legette's going to be around for a long time. I don't think that's going to be the issue. I just don't know that that Bryce Young is going to be able to throw the ball to him enough to make him a Pro Bowler. So I'm going to go Xavier Legette for that reason.
Trey says
mostly because of the quarterback situation in Carolina.
Trey on the stream says Bryce Young is going to the Pro Bowl this year. What a hot take there, Trey. Shane says, why is Pearsall not going to bust? Well, I think that Kyle Shanahan has a lot to do with that, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. He'll figure out a way to get him involved. They picked him pretty high.
He'll get him to the Super Bowl. He just can't win the games.
That's right. Purdy will get him the ball. They're stacked. And I'll tell you this, Shane, I think eventually one of the other 2 receivers will be gone. So Pearsall may be not receiver 1, but receiver 2.
Yeah. And I would say that with Chicago, they've got a lot of really good wide receivers that are probably going to make Caleb Williams look better than he is.
Yeah.
So I think Rome Odunze will make the Pro Bowl. But
it's tough.
I got to pick one.
It's tough.
I feel bad. I feel dirty saying this out loud. I think it's going to be Malik Neighbors with the Giants.
Yeah.
You know, with their quarterback position being up in the air. I don't have a ton of faith in what they've got going on there. So I'm going to have to say Malik Neighbors, but I don't feel good about it.
Texter says bust at quarterback, Daniels, Penix, Nix. Another texter says, I think Caleb Williams, JJ, and Drake May will bust, says JT and Greer. And then another texter just now says bust at QR. Wide receiver, he means Thomas Jr. and Worthy. All right, daily buzz, daily wires today. We're going to get to these real quick before we hit a break and go to the top of the hour, Diesel. The Atlanta Braves took 2 of 3 from the Cleveland Guardians. Big wins over the weekend. 10 games or 10 innings and 11 innings, 2 games.
I had to explain to my mom that they were not the Cleveland Indians anymore.
Yeah,
yesterday.
They're
She's
not.
Like, what is it? Why are they not the Indians anymore? I was like, and people decided that the big, goofy, smiling Indian face was racist.
Yep.
She's like, but the Guardians is a dumb name. I was like, yeah, it is a dumb name.
Woke world. Clemson baseball took 2 of 3 from Louisville. South Carolina baseball took 2 of 3 from number 4 Kentucky. Are you kidding me?
Big wins for the
What
Gamecocks
a
this weekend.
win.
On the road or at home?
At home.
Okay.
At home. By the way, programming note, South Carolina baseball coach Mark Kingston tomorrow, 5:30 on Wire to Wire. 4 local products were selected this past weekend. Diesel, Southside's Jalen Calhoun to the Lions. Bowling Springs' Storm Duck to the Dolphins. Greenwood's Sam Pigney to the Panthers. And Woodruff's Marcellus Dial to the Patriots. 4 standouts. How about that?
That's
awesome.
big
Time, man.
That's awesome. Storm Duck's brother, Clifton Duck, who played at App State, one of my all-time favorite guys. I think he left the team early, tried to go make that money in the NFL. It's a little undersized to go off to the NFL. I think he should have stayed in college for another year. But I'm a fan of Storm Duck just because of the name, man. He's got one of the all-time great names in sports.
Clemson, South Carolina had a couple of players. Will Shipley selected 127th overall. Clemson's Rook Orohoro was selected 35th overall. Xavier Thomas from Clemson Diesel selected 138th to the Arizona Cardinals. South Carolina Spencer Rattler. He fell, he kept falling, but finally he landed in New Orleans as he was selected 150th to the Saints. Clemson.
I think that's a good place to land.
No, I do too. We'll get into that deeper. I like it a lot. I really do. Clemson's JTJ Jeremiah Trotter was selected 155th to the Eagles. South Carolina's Marcellus Dial 180th to the Patriots. And Clemson's Tyler Davis selected 196th to the LA Rams. Atlanta at Seattle tonight, 9:40. Max Fried on the mound for the Braves. And how about this? Lamont Paris continues to cook Diesel. What did I say? If he gets Nick Pringle, watch out. And what did he do? He got Nick Pringle.
He popped the top.
He did, man. He got him. Former Walford Terrier, former Alabama forward, is now a South Carolina Gamecock. That's huge. Cam Scott plus Nick Pringle. Man, what a Lamont Paris
with a really good freshman.
Yeah.
But
really you know what the problem is, don't you? He's setting himself up with high expectations in 2024.
Hey, I'd love to have high expectations to start the season. You get fans excited. You fill the stadium early. It becomes infectious, the energy that you've got there. I mean, I wouldn't want to start the season flat with no real expectation, with no juice, no buzz, and it takes you till midway point in the season to get people to show up.
That's what happened last year.
Yeah,
right? No, I agree. They're going to fill up Colonial Life. There's going to be some people in seats. There's going to be butts in seats, Diesel. So a really, really good weekend for Nick Pringle.
When we come back, Cole, just another little programming note for you. Coming up at 4:20, we'll have on Jake Mastriani from the Locked On Braves podcast. If you're a hardcore Braves fan, this guy will have the answer to anything you want to know. Any burning questions you got about the Braves, go ahead and send them into us. 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. You can jump in on the stream on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. Just search for The Fan Upstate. Hit that like, hit that follow button, whatever it is. Jump into the stream and start chatting it up with the other Tolos. When we come back, Cole, we got some Todd McShay and some Dan Orlovsky audio that's going to change our mind, maybe, on how we feel about the Falcons and, crap in the bed in round 1. That's next.
He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. We're glad to be with you on this Monday edition of Wire to Wire. Diesel, you and I are on record saying that we don't love the Michael Penix move.
It was a head scratcher for sure.
But we're going to try to convince ourselves otherwise.
Neither one of us is saying that they got a bad player.
Right.
It was just a weird situation.
They made the wrong signing beforehand.
That's true.
With old Grandpa Kurt. Well, Uncle Kurt. Kirk's a little old to be making 4-year deals, right? $180 million. However, there is some really interesting audio here. And you know how sports media works, Diesel. As soon as the consensus makes or chooses a side, as soon as the consensus of the media chooses a side, there's obviously going to be guys who want to be hot take guy and say, oh, no, Atlanta made the right decision. This is going to work out. I'm not saying Todd McShay and Dan Orlovsky are doing that. However, there's a lot of things that Dan Orlovsky says that I scratch my head at. I don't know if he truly means this, but both Dan Orlovsky, Diesel, and Todd McShay are defending the pick. And I want to see if the two of them can convince you and I that Atlanta made the right decision. All right, let's hear old Dano first.
The draft happened last night. I was unbelievably perplexed by this pick. And then I went to bed and I thought about it a little bit more. And then I had some insight shared. And not only do I love the pick, I totally understand it. Okay, yes. Atlanta's perspective. Number one, hear me out. Number one, they had Michael Penix as the second best quarterback in this draft attached to Jaden Daniels, okay? Number two, they expect to be very good with Kirk Cousins over the next couple years. And in experience last night, realizing how expensive it is to get up in the draft when you are back half like that and go get a quarterback, they realized it's going to be too expensive eventually. And then number three, when it came to specific of their experience with Michael Penix, and a couple people there have attachments to Matthew Stafford. And they said it's the closest they've ever seen anybody to throw the football like Matthew Stafford. You don't take a quarterback in the top 10 unless your owner is not only on board with it, wants it. I completely understand the thought process by Atlanta now. I understand the viewpoint of who they got in Michael Penix. And I actually think it's very smart for them to prepare for in 2 years. There is no development needed. They hit the ground running with whoever quarterback will be starting in 2026.
So that's Dan Orlovsky. Diesel, does he persuade you any? Does he persuade you off the couch any direction?
The terminology there, hit the ground running in 2 years, does not compute, Dan.
I don't understand it.
Does not compute. Look, again, do I think they picked a really good player? Yes, I do. I do think they picked a really good player. Do I believe that the Falcons believe Kirk Cousins will finish out his 4-year contract? Well, that's ultimately the question.
That is the question.
Will he finish out his 4-year contract? Kirk Cousins is what? How old is Kirk Cousins?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm going to guess 32.
Kirk Cousins is 35.
Oh, I was off.
Kirk
by
Cousins
3
is
years.
35. So 2 years from now, he'll be 37. We all know that right around that age is when a lot of quarterbacks start to fall off in the NFL.
So what are they going to do with him, though? Bench him?
Bench him and let him develop. Let him learn. Let him
bench
really
Kirk and
bench. Well,
Penix.
I mean, if Penix is that good, I guess you do.
I'm saying, what do you do? Yeah, like Dan saying a 2-year plan. Wait, 2 years? I thought the contract was a 4-year contract with Kirk.
Yeah.
What are they?
And just the fact that Kirk says they had no knowledge, his camp had no knowledge that this move was going to happen. They hadn't discussed it in advance. I mean, if they had discussed it in advance and they said, all right, here's the deal, Kirk, we're going to offer you 180 because it seems like this big contract that's going to get a whole lot of people's attention. But, you know, we understand that you really only want to go 2 more years. So then that's why we're going to give you half guaranteed up front, basically. Front load this contract.
Atlanta made
That would make sense.
Sure.
That would make sense, but Kirk said he had no knowledge. of this happening.
Again, it's a 4-year contract.
If I'm Kirk Cousins, I'm playing until I'm 40 out of spite, bro.
Yeah, just because I'm, that's what you signed me to.
Right.
You signed me to a 4-year deal. Z Fink on the stream, live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Z Fink says, I don't see why everyone's so confused about Michael Penix. Next year quarterback class, probably not as good as Cousins, or probably not as good, and Cousins probably only going to be there for 3 years. Penix gets to sit under Cousins and grow. I hear you. I just am thinking 3 years from now, 4 years from now, would you rather have Michael Penix at 27, 28, or would you rather have a guy out of college? That's the question. They're risking it.
But he's going to be old 2 years from now. Old in terms of NFL quarterbacks.
Correct. He is. All right, so that was Dan Orlovsky. I hear what he said.
Z Fink also adds on to that, says he old AF in football years. Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers both were pissed when Green Bay did the same thing.
That's why Rodgers left.
Look at what happened in Pittsburgh when Roethlisberger was so upset. Was it Mason Rudolph?
Yep.
Was the incoming rookie quarterback, and he said, basically, I am not teaching this guy.
But Rodgers wasn't in the same contract scenario as Kirk Cousins is.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't sign Aaron Rodgers to a 4-year deal right before they drafted Jordan Love. That's the difference.
I mean, look, great quarterbacks will show themselves every year. You can't predict how good a quarterback class is going to be a year or two out. I mean, you just don't know. Elite quarterbacks will show themselves, and teams will always reach for those guys.
They will. I want to see if Todd McShay, formerly ESPN, can convince us and finally put the nail in this coffin on this. Put the nail in this coffin on this issue. I don't know that he does, but here's what Todd McShay had to say.
Atlanta made the right decision because you got to look at it with Kirk Cousins and those young weapons and Bijan Robinson, running back. Like, they have a team that's not going to be picking in the top 8 anytime soon. So now next year you're picking at 22, 23. Like, there's no quarterback opportunity there. So let's get this guy now, because this is about the organization for the next 5 years and beyond. And so they did the right thing. Now, two things can be true here. They made the right organizational decision, but did they do it with the right guy? That's the interesting part. J.J. McCarthy, to me, based off my board, my evaluation, and everything else, is the guy that was rated higher. But I'll say this, I can understand why Atlanta went with Penix in this regard. This is an organization that has gone all in, right, with weapons. They want to spread you out. Bijan's a receiver out of the backfield. They want to spread you out and attack. Who's the best pure passer in this class? Michael Penix Jr. But I'll say this, they better be able to protect, because they've got two guys that they've now invested a boatload of money in.
So there's Todd McShay saying they made the right move in taking a quarterback, but they took the wrong quarterback. So now not only are they defending it, they're defending it by saying they should have took McCarthy. I think Michael Penix Jr. is a fine pick, as Deeds and I have said 100 times. The contract issue, the contract that Kirk Cousins is in is the issue. That's the worry, right?
So here's interesting. Here's something interesting for those who claim that next year's quarterback draft class is not going to be as good. So I'm looking at, this comes from NFLDraftBuzz.com, the quarterback rankings for 2024, this draft class. Caleb Williams, 93.5 rating. Jaden Daniels, 90.9. Drake May, 90.1. So there's 3 guys ranked 90 or above. Caleb Williams separates himself with a 93.5. Looking into next year's quarterback draft class, there are 2 guys ranked or rated with a 90 or above. Shadur Sanders with a 91.1. I don't know that Shadur Sanders has shown us anywhere near enough to be ranked or rated that high. Carson Beck, 90.6. Quinn Ewers, 89.1. So 2 guys rated 90 or above. Quinn Ewers right there behind them with an 89.1. I mean, really, what is 0.9?
Yeah.
What does that really even mean? That's a really interesting question. But you got 3 elite quarterbacks this year, 90 or above, 2 next year. 1 is right there on the edge, less than 1 point away from being ranked a 90. If you want to add that logic, Michael Penix Jr. had an 89.9 or 89.8 last year. So like I'm not really convinced that next year's quarterback draft class is going to be garbage. So you just don't even think that you're going to be drafting quarterback next year.
Let's do this. Let's ask this question. And by the way, Shane on the stream says Penix is 25 or 26 already. That's why it's different than Love. Love is 25 going into year 5 of his NFL career. What's the worst thing, Diesel, and the best thing that could happen? Worst case scenario, best case scenario for Falcons and Michael Penix. Let's start with the worst case. You tell me if I'm wrong here. I think the worst case is Cousins stays healthy and plays 4 years of halfway decent football.
Yeah.
Right?
He wins just enough games not to get fired.
And now I'm going to say, what did you say? How old is Michael Penix?
Michael Penix, I believe at the moment is 23 or 24. I think he's 23.
He is 23 right now. So that would be 4 years, 27 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Do you tell, again, I go back to this, is a 27, worst case scenario, is a 27-year-old Michael Penix Jr. better than somebody coming out of college who's 20, 21?
The average NFL starting quarterback age is 29.
Wow.
So he's going to be 2 years away from the average age by the time he finally gets to start.
Listen,
I mean, I'm sure Delvin's going to call in and say, Kurt Warner. Because he was like 50 when he started as an NFL rookie.
I'll say this about the age. Diesel, the NFL is becoming a league where you can play at an older age and still be impactful because the more football IQ you have, Tom Brady's shown that this is true.
Well, and
Peyton
especially
Manning,
the way they protect quarterbacks too.
right. Peyton Manning has shown that this is true. You said it. The way they protect quarterbacks, the way they get calls, older quarterbacks can be successful.
You get savvy.
But I'm just thinking worst case scenario, Kirk's on that roster for 4 more years, and Penix then starts. I don't think that's the move. If you had to ask Arthur Blank and the Falcons GM and coaching staff, if you told them in a room, this is what's going to happen before they made that pick, if you could see the future, Diesel, and you said, hey, I can see the future, this is what's going to happen. Cousins is going to play 4 years before Penix starts. I don't think they make that pick. I think they're banking on something happening between now and 4 years.
Well, the Falcons' best friend right now is Julie, Kirk's wife. They need to be in her ear saying, hey, Julie, don't you want Kirk to be home? Don't you want Kirk to have all of his faculties when he's 60 years old? Don't you want to avoid having to wipe Kirk's butt because he's been hit in the head too many times and he can't do it for himself anymore? Like that. Don't you want to have some more kids like that? They need to be in her ear.
Sure.
Saying, hey, you know, it'd be really great is if you could get your husband to retire. That way we don't have to pay him anymore. That would be nice.
Texter says the wild thing no one is mentioning about Penix and Cousins is that they're two completely different style of quarterbacks.
So true.
No one's mentioned it. Good point, Texter.
That's why, and again, I know you said you want to bring it up a little bit later on in the show. That's why I think the Spencer Rattler to New Orleans is a good choice. Not because of Derek Carr, but because of Jameis Winston being on the depth chart as number 2.
Yeah.
And you get to learn under Jameis Winston.
No, we can hit that in this segment too. I love it. I think that Rattler did end up in a really good. I think that Thursday or Friday, Diesel, you and I were sitting here, and I might have been Thursday at the draft party at Dave & Buster's. Somebody mentioned New Orleans, and I think we both said wouldn't be a bad landing spot. And to your point, there is no QB1 there that's head and shoulders above everyone else.
And Derek Carr's 33.
And not good.
Right. And Jameis Winston is also older. How old is Jameis Winston?
Late 20s, I would say. 28.
30.
Is Jameis 30?
30.
I didn't know that.
January 6th, 1994. Jameis Williams is 30, which tells me that Spencer Rattler very well could be QB1.
Be great.
In New Orleans this year or next year.
So what's best?
I think that's a great spot for Spencer
It is.
Rattler.
It is. I like it a lot. What would you say is best case scenario for the whole Penix in Atlanta?
Best case is that Kirk retires after 2 years. You know, he gets another year into this, says, man, I'm getting a little older. I'm 34. I'm 35. I want to spend more time with my wife. I'm tired of being a journeyman that moves every couple of years. I'm ready to just go ahead and call it. That's best case scenario.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happens with the contract. I mean, outside of paying him the guaranteed $90 million, do they still have to pay him that even if he retires?
No, I wouldn't think so.
Does anybody have any more knowledge on how guaranteed contracts like that work? I mean, is that guaranteed assuming you stay with us for 4 years?
You would think.
Meaning your guaranteed would be somewhere in the range of $23.5 million a year just for staying on the roster.
Sure.
And then you make more on top of that in incentives, which would be essentially you could make up to another $23.5 million in incentives. So
one texter says Cousins plays well next year and gets traded for a high pick. No issues. Win-win for all. Cowboys could take him, move on from Dak. Another texter says Jameis is in Cleveland. Diesel.
Why are you trying to make Cole mad, make him quit the show?
Yeah,
today?
really, that'd be great. Oh, Jameis Winston, not in New Orleans anymore.
Is he gone? Okay. He's
in
I looked
the
up
big
depth
C.
chart. Okay. I looked up the depth chart. He's still listed on their depth chart. On their roster. On the official New Orleans
Gives you
Saints
even more
website.
hope then, right?
Well, it tells me that somebody down there is not paying attention and updating their website.
So Jameis with the Browns now. I mean, who is Spencer Rattler really competing with?
Yeah.
Derek Carr? That it?
Yeah. Spencer's going to play a lot.
That's
Trey
wild.
says, I think Kirk's contract is front loaded.
Who else is in their quarterback? I'm looking right now to see their quarterback room, Diesel. I mean, if they haven't signed anyone in free agency, to my knowledge, that would be very, very, very interesting for sure. So Taysom Hill, Derek Carr, and now Spencer Rattler. I like it. I like it. No hate against Taysom Hill. I like Taysom Hill. However, Taysom Hill's not a quarterback. He's not a true quarterback. Okay? Fight me on it if you want to. Taysom Hill is not a true quarterback.
When we come back, Cole, we're going to shift things over to the Diamond, and we're going to talk Atlanta Braves.
Heck yeah.
With Jake Mastriani of the Locked On Braves podcast. The dude's absolutely fantastic. He just reached 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's not easy to do. So you know he's making good content. You know he's doing great work. We're going to talk to Jake, and we want your burning questions as well. So if you got something you really want to know about the Braves, and you can get nitty-gritty because this is a numbers dude. Send it to us, 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. Jake Mastriani of Locked On Braves coming up next here on the Fan Upstate. Atlanta takes 2 out of 3 against the very, very good Cleveland Guardians over the weekend. 2 of them in extra innings. What an exciting time to be an Atlanta Braves team to watch your beloved Bravos get it done every which way. To talk about it, we bring on a podcaster that I've been listening to a lot over the past couple of months. He's absolutely fantastic. You can find him on Twitter at shortstopball. His name is Jake Mastriani, host of the Locked On Braves podcast. First of all, Jake, you and I have never had a chance to actually speak to each other, so welcome. Thanks for joining us on the show today. How you feeling today, pal?
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me on. Feeling good. Feeling really good after the Braves were able to close things out on Sunday, get that series win before they head out west.
Can you quantify for me, Jake, in any way, shape, or form, how absolutely crucial it is to have these gutted out type of games early in the season? I mean, obviously the answer is you can't get to 90 or 100 games if you're losing series early, but can you quantify or attempt to qualify how winning early really affects a team's trends, momentum, motivation down the stretch?
It's definitely big. I mean, you want to win whenever, but especially, early in the season. The Braves got in this situation in 2021 and I believe 2022 as well, where they got off to some slow starts and then they really had to pick things up in the second half just to, in 2022, win the division over the Mets. In 2021, really just get into the postseason. And in 2022, it felt like they kind of just ran out of gas because they were working so hard to win that division. 2021, luckily, the rest of the division just didn't step up and kind of handed it to the Braves, and we know what happened from there. But you certainly want to get off to a good start, because one thing that it does, it allows for times in the schedule where you can skip starters or give them an extra day of rest. And the big thing for the key for the Braves is to make sure that rotation is as healthy as can be come the end of the season. And so when you get off to the hot start and, you get a little bit of a lead, it allows you to do things like that, to give guys in the rotation extra days of rest. And obviously winning breeds winning. You just want to have that winning mentality that you can always come out on top no matter what. You're never out of a ball game. And past 2 games were indicative of that. Look, Saturday they fell behind, came right back, tied it up, didn't get it done in extra innings, do the same thing on Sunday, fall behind, come right back, tie it up, and then they do get the job done in extra innings. So it says a lot about this Braves team, and certainly getting out to a great start helps keep guys fresh.
Jake, it's interesting. By the way, this is Cole Bryson. Glad to have you on. It's interesting that you talk about that, because the Atlanta Braves fans haven't experienced a team really go wire to wire, if you will, from the full season aspect of it, because in 2021, the roster at the beginning of the season was a lot different than the roster was after the trade deadline, when Anthopoulos made some really big moves that eventually got the Braves over the hump. Do you think there's concern from Braves fans, though, just because they've seen time and time again winning during the regular season, winning 100 games, winning the division, all that's great, but it doesn't translate to the postseason?
It's definitely a worry, and it's certainly out there. I mean, I'm a kid of the 90s. I mean, I remember winning all those division titles, and what are fans of other teams and even Braves fans going to point to? Well, you only won 1 World Series. And I feel like we're kind of in that same situation here, where the Braves are set up to have a really good run of getting to the postseason, especially with the expanded playoffs. But if you just get the 1 World Series, it feels like it's going to be kind of a letdown. And so there is that, mentality. I think it's more from a fan standpoint than anything, that, yes, we've seen this team have a lot of success in the regular season. What are you going to do in the postseason? And look, I'm kind of different in most fans in that I enjoy the 162. I think that's what's so special about baseball, is the 162 aspect of it. And that's generally going to tell you who the best team is. The postseason is for entertainment. It's for fun. It's for revenue, all of that. But I enjoy the 162. And look, you can't get to the postseason unless you're good in the 162. So I'm never going to get tired of that. Winning division titles, that is still very important to me. And it's the first step into getting that ticket into the postseason, as Brian Snicker always says. And then you see what happens from there.
Jay Cole brought it up here, Alex Anthopoulos. I want you to go deep here. How are the players handling Alex Anthopoulos' contract strategy? Longer terms, less money each year, but still the big contracts. These guys are making an awful lot of money playing baseball. It's hard to fathom, Jake, in an ego-driven career path such as sports, where the constant drive is to be the highest paid player at a position just for the sake of being the highest paid player, that the Braves have tapped into a vein of unselfish players. Can you go into the strategy, how it's working, and how sustainable it's going to be over the long term?
I don't think every franchise can do this. If they could, we would see a lot more teams doing it, obviously. Look, it's hard to speak to it because I'm not necessarily in there. I'm not in the clubhouse every day, but just what you hear from players, they've created a culture there, and a winning culture where it's about the team and it's not so much about the player. And guys want to be in that environment. And look, there's risk involved in it. I mean, as great as Acuna is, he's already had one major knee injury. If you were to have another one, who knows what that looks like. And look at the case in Spencer Strider, really the only pitcher that they've locked up to one of those team-friendly long-term deals. He's going to be out for, essentially a year. And there's risk on the team side of things, but for the most part, I mean, Ozzie Albies has the most team-friendly deal in all of baseball. All-star player making $7 million a year. Look at Orlando Arcia; he's making $2 million a year, and he's an all-star player. Now, when they signed that contract, he hadn't necessarily reached that potential, but I think it's just a culture thing there. Players want to be there. There's a winning atmosphere there. You're going to be winning, and some of these guys are homegrown too. In the case of Michael Harris and Matt Olson, look, they probably have dreamed of playing for the Braves and playing for that franchise. And, even Austin Riley, he's a Southern kid as well from Mississippi. So I think that factors into it as well. Acuna and Ozzie, when they signed those deals, they were young. That's guaranteed money, and they're going to get opportunities to get a big deal. But I think a lot of it has to do with the culture that Alex Anthopoulos and the Braves have created there.
Jake Mastriani joining us on Wire to Wire. You can follow him on Twitter at ShortstopBall and at Locked On Braves, joining us right here on the Fan Upstate. Hey, Jake, with Strider out, obviously there's a contingent of Braves fans that want the organization to go get someone from the outside. But Max Fried showed you just a couple of days ago that, hey, everything might be okay on the home front, better than Braves fans realize. Where do you lean on that?
Nothing needs to happen right now is where I lean on it. But Chris Sale, I think he can still be very, very good. He has been very, very good. The Reynaldo Lopez one is the key for me because I can go to battle in the postseason with Max Fried. If Max Fried is like he was the last time out, I can go to battle with Chris Sale. I'm a little worried about Charlie Morton, 40 years old. He's struggled with command. It's gotten worse the last couple of years. But if Reynaldo Lopez is that guy and he's my 3, then I feel a lot more comfortable about this rotation. I think it's likely that they at least go after some sort of mid-level starter at the trade deadline. But for the moment, you're going to see what Bryce Elder can give you. Can it be more like first half Bryce Elder? You're going to see what an Alan Winans and a Darius Vines can give you. I don't think those are guys you're going to count on in the postseason, but at least to get you through the regular season. And then who knows, at some point, maybe an A.J. Smith-Shawver, maybe a Hurston Waldrop steps up into that rotation. So I think there's enough internal options right now that they can go through and try to piece things together. And then obviously we'll reassess once we get to the trade deadline, but I wouldn't be surprised if they at least look to add kind of a mid-rotation starter in case something happens in that final 2 months, like has been the case the last 2 years. They've gone into the postseason with 2 of their rotation starters a little banged up, or in the case for Max Fried a couple of years ago, he was coming off a major illness, which, you can't really predict for that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they at least add a little bit more depth there.
You mentioned him, Jake. Reynaldo Lopez, fans and staff, everybody around that organization has to be just over the moon as far as what they've gotten out of him, a sub-1 ERA. But the weird thing is, Jake, he's not listed on the MLB Network's power ranking charts as a top 10 pitcher in the bigs. Why do you think that is? Is it just because he's not proven it over a full season that he's an elite starter, or is there something else going on in there that I'm not seeing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know why he's getting a little overlooked. Only thing I can imagine is I think most of the guys on that list have 5 or 6 starts at this point. Lopez only has 4, which is what I kind of talked about, the fact that the Braves are looking for opportunities to save some of these guys, save some bullets, give them extra days of rest. And they've certainly done that with Lopez, who's going from being a reliever to a starter. So yeah, that's the only thing I can figure is why he's not up there in the top 10 at the moment. It's just because other guys have gotten more starts than him and they're a little bit more proven. But the start to this year that he's had, I don't think the Braves could even had predicted a 0.72 ERA and a 0.88 WHIP. He's just been fantastic and doing it primarily with two pitches, a fastball slider combination, which we know another Braves pitcher that has been very successful in doing that. And I'm not saying he's about to become Spencer Strider, but certainly if you can locate those two pitches as he has, and you have a good break on that slider that he has, then you can be successful. The only real question is how many times through a lineup can he do it? How deep in a game can he go? Well, so far he has checked all those boxes. He's gone at least 6 innings in all 4 starts and given up 1 earned or less in all those as well.
Jake Mastriani joining us on Wire to Wire. Jake, where do you stand on Tommy John, on the pitch clock? We've talked about it a lot on this program. There's no simple solution. It's happened for years. It doesn't seem like there's a fix to this, unfortunately. But, you know, we've had people say it's the curveball of Strider that he added. It's the pitch clock. Where do you stand on that?
So there's many factors that go into the increase in pitcher injuries that have been on the rise for several years, even going back before the pitch clock. I love to believe the pitch clock doesn't have much to do with it. I'm sure it's a small factor. The biggest thing for me is that pitchers are throwing max velocity all the time now. It's not like it was back in the day where you would sit 92, 93, and then you dial it up to 95, 96 when you needed it. It is max effort all the time. And the arm just wasn't made to handle that type of workload. It wasn't made to handle that type of effort over and over again like that. And when you're doing that and you're doing something that the body wasn't meant to do, you're going to have more and more injuries like this. So again, that's one of several factors. You talk about the spin on the baseball and pitchers, doing everything that they can, to rotate the arm to get as much spin. That certainly has something to do with it. You've heard Tyler Glasnow and others talk about the fact that without the use of some sort of tacky substance to get better grip on the ball, that's causing some of the injuries as well. So there's many different things to go into it. But the simplest thing for me that I point to is the fact that pitchers are doing something on countless occasions that the arm's just not designed to do. And the more you do that, the more injuries are going to occur.
He's just passed the 10,000 mark on YouTube. Congratulations on that, Jake. What's your best guess on what's going on with Matt Olson? He was in a pretty deep slump. He has 3 hits in his last 4 games, so it feels like maybe he's clawing out of that deep hole just a little bit, but the average is still down. Do you see it as a simple case of not seeing the ball very well? Is there something else going on?
So the only concern I have with Matt Olson right now is just the strikeouts. We're seeing too many strikeouts again, which is what we saw last April when he struck out 41 times. So that is my only real concern. When he is making contact, he's still 97th percentile in average exit velocity, 94.4 miles per hour. He's still 85th percentile in barrel percentage at 12.9. He's still 97th percentile in hard hit percentage. So he is still making really good contact. Some of it is just the balls aren't flying right now, whether that's the weather, whether that's Major League Baseball's tampering with the baseballs again, I don't know. But all that's kind of factoring into him having some bad luck at the moment. And combine that with the fact that he's just striking out way too much. And again, we saw this from him last April, and then he turned it on to be maybe the best power hitter in the game last year. So I am not concerned about him in the slightest, because when he is making contact, he is still barreling up the baseball at a high rate. It's just the fact he's got to cut down on those strikeouts and the swing and miss.
Now, Jake, in an interview setting, we can always try to come up with the most interesting storylines that we can think of to ask you about, but you're the expert here. I want to get an open-ended question here into you. What are you tracking right now that really has your attention that, maybe Cole and I didn't ask you about?
I mean, it's the obvious one, but I'm tracking Ronald. I mean, it's look, I'm definitely not concerned about him. I believe he's going to turn it on and become Ronald Acuna Jr., but, he's the most exciting player in baseball. We haven't gotten that so far this season. And he is one too, where it's just, the velocity numbers aren't really there, and even more so than Olson. But what made Ronald so special last year is that he cut down that strikeout rate 10%. And now we're seeing it back up in the 23, 24%. And, 1 home run so far this year, that's just not what you expect to see from Ronald. He's getting hammered up and in with fastballs, which has always been the place to get him. But now it just seems like every pitcher is dotting him up and in with upper 90s velocity, and he just hasn't been able to time that up yet. So that is the one thing that I'm watching because he is the most exciting player in baseball. He is the guy that's getting on base and getting things started for this Atlanta Braves lineup. But I mean, if you would have told me the Braves are sitting here with the best record in baseball and Riley, Olsen, and Acuna have a combined 6 home runs as we're almost at the end of April, I would have thought you were crazy. So the fact the Braves are where they are and 3 of their top 4 hitters in the lineup haven't even really gotten going yet, I think speaks to just how deep and how good this Braves team is. But certainly from a fan perspective, I want to see Ron Acuna Jr. turn back into the Ron Acuna Jr. we saw last year. And I believe it'll happen, but this kind of, I don't even want to call it a slump because for most players, it's still really good numbers, but I want to see him turn back into that MVP player.
He is Jake Mastriani, the host of the Locked On Braves podcast. I love your work, Jake, and I hope like hell we can bring you on a couple more times in the near future and really kind of make this a big thing. I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much, pal.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. That is Jake Mastriani at Shortstop Ball. If you want to follow him directly on Twitter at Locked On Braves. Again, I told you he had 10,000 subscribers on YouTube just recently. Man, this dude's career is going up, up, and up. He is definitely a great follow if you're an Atlanta Braves fan.
Braves at Seattle tonight, 9:40 first pitch. It's going to be a late one.
Will you stay up for that whole game?
If it's on TV, I'll stay up for most of it. But the reality of it is I probably won't even get it on TV because Valley, right?
Well, you gotta get yourself the hookup there with a login to the Valley Network.
Well, even if you have a Valley login, it says blacked out half the time. 90% of the time it's blacked. I don't know why.
You just got to find
Yeah,
ways.
Rob Brown sent me away. All right, Diesel, coming up next, you asked the question. If you were going to try to set a world record, what category would you set it in? He's Diesel, I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate.
This is Wire to Wire, 97.7 FM in Greenville, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, online wherever you are on the free Odyssey app. You can stream us live. You can check out podcasts on demand, even jump back to a spot where you had to leave off. Maybe you were in the car and you had to get out for a minute. Now you can jump right back to where you had to turn it off. Let's go to the phone lines here. We got JD in Simpsonville, who may or may not be in Simpsonville right now. JD, what's up? What's on your mind? You're welcome.
I don't know about that. Below average.
He won 2 out of 3 against number 4 Kentucky. Well, you know how to flatter me, JD. I appreciate that.
JD, real quick, listen to this. Listen to this. You're underachieving below average coach South Carolina Gamecocks. The new D1 baseball rankings came out today. On South Carolina's schedule currently, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12, 17, 19, 23, all on South Carolina's schedule. That's some pretty good quality competition there. Yeah. Is it Mark Kingston's fault that Cole Messina just hasn't been what Cole Messina was supposed to be this year? Yeah. Well, you were inning away from taking 2 of 3 from Arkansas last weekend and then taking 2 of 3 from Kentucky. 2-1 loss 2 weekends ago on Friday night to Arkansas. You lost by 1, left 11 runners on base. Again, my opinion, I don't think it's Mark Kingston's fault that the 1 through 9 left 11 runners on base in scoring position. Yes, we will. Thanks for the call, man. You better write a poem then, JD.
Yeah, that's entirely up to you, JD.
That's right.
We can't make your calls great.
Bobby made his call great, JD.
Yes, he did. All right, so this is something that really stuck out to me. I think it's fun to go off topic just a little bit every now and again, stay away from sports for like a few minutes. But this is competition in a way, Cole. So a man from Ghana who was studying forestry at Auburn University just set the world record for most number of trees hugged in 1 hour. He set a record for the most number of trees hugged
in
1 hour. He hugged 1,123 trees in the Tuskegee National Forest.
God.
I mean, that's I can't even imagine. I want to see video of this,
This
right?
is the world we live
just
in.
run up, hug it. Okay, so here's the rules, Cole. The record attempt required that the man wrap both of his arms around each tree in a close embrace without causing any damage to the trees. How do you damage a tree via a hug? I'm not sure. No tree could be hugged more than once, which required him to move quickly between each hug. This is lightning fast here, okay? This is Tyreek Hill level speed. He averaged hugging 19 trees per minute, which means he spent on average 3 seconds hugging each tree. And that includes time getting from tree to tree to tree to tree, right? He was not allowed to hug the same tree twice. The minimum number of trees that he could hug to break the record, don't know why it was this number, but it was 700. He hugged 1,123 trees, Cole. I mean, you got a lot of hippies sitting around smoking weed, listening to Fish, who aren't doing a damn thing. At least this guy actually tries, right? He's out there literally hugging trees. So I want to ask you, Cole, if you were going to attempt to break a world record, and there's some ludicrous world records out there, right?
Sure.
Like, why is tree hugging a world record?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it is. Would you try to break an already established and difficult to achieve world record? Or would you just make up some ludicrous category like tree hugging and go out there and try to break it?
I think I would do something that's already been done, and it would probably have to do with food.
Okay.
I've always felt like this is me being dumb and saying things that I absolutely couldn't do in real life. I've always felt like I could break food records in terms of like eating the most of something or eating something in a certain amount of time. Again, probably never happened, but I've always told myself I could. I've always felt like I could. I can eat a lot.
So you are a Bobby Hill from the episode when he ate that giant steak in King of the Hill?
I could do it, man. Like if I didn't do it, I'd at least go down swinging at it. I've always felt like I can put away food like really, really quickly. So I think I'd do something related to food that's already been done.
Tolos, if you were going to attempt to break a Guinness World Record, and I'm not asking you to go look up what the world record is, but like just give me a category. What would you try to break? What record would you attempt to break? Now, Cole, I set a record almost every single day for the most number of times I tell my dog no.
Yeah.
And him not listen to me. It's like every day I'm setting a new record. Didn't think it was possible, but you know what? With the help of God and my trainer, I'm getting there. Now, I would set a record, Cole, for the most number of dog noses booped in a row. I think it'd be fun to like gather a whole bunch of people with their dogs. You make them sit and you just go down the line, just go boop, boop, boop them on the nose. That's the world record I want to set, man. I want to set a fun record. And that way, if somebody comes and beats you, you get to do it all over again, and it's fun.
I'm not creative enough to think of something to do like
Shane Barrett says he'd attempt to break the record of 3-pointers made in a day.
Well, Shane, I hope your last name's Curry. Shane Curry is what I hope your name is.
So you got to be careful with this, Shane. Like, you get tired, your arm gets tired, your wrist gets tired, your legs get tired. You can't just go for 24 hours attempting shots. You're going to have to do a 1-hour session or a 30-minute session.
Sure.
And then a 5-minute break, and a 30-minute session and a 5-minute break.
Oh, I'd be done.
That would be really hard.
Can you imagine how tired you
Says his nickname is Baby Steph. Has anyone ever called you that, Shane? Like, for real? I ain't buying it, Shane. I ain't buying it at all.
Oh, my goodness. He says it is, at least. That's what he tells you. We believe you, Shane. Whatever you say, we believe it.
I could probably set the most number of ground balls hit while attempting to hit a home run.
Yeah, that'd be pretty easy. Or strike. Let me do strikeouts. You do ground balls, I'll do strikeouts. All right, coming up next, it's time for you to weigh in. We do it every single day at 5 o'clock. It's the 5 o'clock fight. 3 rounds. You decide who wins. 71307. Go ahead and save that number in your phone. That way you can participate. Start your text with the word fan.
All right. We will begin with questions for Xavier.
Xavier, you woke up a Carolina Panther. Did you have to pinch yourself?
Say it one more time.
So you woke up a Carolina Panther this morning. Did you have to pinch yourself a little bit?
Oh no, man. I woke up ready, man. I got a call right after I got dressed. They was coming to pick me up at 9:30 in the morning. I told them I'm gonna be ready.
What was that feeling like when you got the call? Because I saw the emotion in your face in the video, but what were those emotions?
Overly excited my whole time, and I really trying to hold my tears in for real, man. I told my folks I wasn't gonna crack. I was trying to be tough guy, but man, I was really overly excited.
Xavier Legette, man, he is everyone's new favorite player. Like, let's be honest. Xavier Legette's accent's the best thing that ever happened to football.
I want to compare this, Cole. So give me the mic here. Give me the aux cord.
All right.
I want to compare this to one of the other great Southern accents in sports. Randy Moss.
Okay.
Randy.
Tom just mentions Lawrence Taylor, and then you have three of the NFL's all-time great players in the goated Tom. Julian's an all-time great, future Hall of Famer.
I think he learned. I think he worked on his accent a little bit, and he lost it a little.
I don't think it's as strong.
Because I remember OG Randy Moss. Randy Moss.
He might have a TV voice now.
I think he's fixed it a little bit for TV, but he was. Now that I hear him side by side, man, he's nothing like.
There's nothing like
Legette.
that Mullins.
Right after I got dressed, they was coming to pick me up at 9:30 in the morning. I told them I'm gonna be ready.
I'm gonna be ready. I love it, man. Like, that is just fantastic. His accent. I want more Xavier Legette press conferences. I'm just fired up about it. I'm happy for him, and that it doesn't. I don't think it'll ever get old. I hope he has a long NFL career. I really do. All right, Diesel, it is time.
What are the kids saying? Inject that right into my veins.
Yes, I want it. More of it every single day. It is now time for what we do every single day at 5:00. It's time to fight.
It's an all-out slugfest, and nobody's leaving unscathed. 3 topics, 1 winner. It's the 5 o'clock fight on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
If this is your first time tuning in to Wire, I want to let you know that you can get involved with this very segment. There are few segments that we do, Diesel, that get as much interaction as this one. So if you are a listener, we call our listeners TOLOs. That stands for Turn It On, Leave It On. That's what we ask you to do. You can get involved by texting 71307. Let us know who wins each round. You can also get to us on the stream. We're live every single day on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Diesel's on Twitter at Diesel on Radio. You can find me at the Cole Bryson. So many ways for you to get in touch with the show. So now we begin. You ready, Diesel?
Let's hit it.
All right, this is a burning question. If your team wasn't in the Super Bowl, which event, Diesel, do you care more about, the NFL draft or the big one, the Super Bowl? This is burning to me.
Oh, that's easy.
Is it?
That's easy. I care more about the Super Bowl.
If your team's not in it?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to be real with you, Cole. I'm going to get some heat off of this. I genuinely don't care about the NFL draft.
Oh, no.
After the first round.
Oh.
First round is interesting. It's fun to see who's going to go where. Outside of that, I don't care. Like, I'm not Mr. Sit and watch every round of the draft. I'd rather just, pick up my phone on Sunday afternoon, Google it, be like, oh, okay, here's who my team got. Right? Like it's all Super Bowl, man. That's the biggest event of the year. How could you say anything other than the Super Bowl?
If your team's not in it, give me, which, by the way, my team's never in it. So I don't have to worry about it happening. Give me the draft over the Super Bowl if my team isn't in it. Because I get a sense of hope. I get a sense of maybe some new life breathed into the organization. And I feel as if my team maybe can finally get there.
It's fun. You get that little breath of new life.
Yeah.
And then Jerry Jones just like does his little touch of death on it. Just
Every
makes
year.
it wither.
Every single year. So the question is, if you don't have a dog in the fight, if your team's not in it, do you care more about the Super Bowl or the NFL draft, which your team is in, unless you're the Panthers? Let us know what you think. 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Let us know who wins round one. Diesel said definitely the Super Bowl. I say it's definitely the draft.
Trey says Cole automatically wins. Well, Trey, your vote has now been stricken from the record.
Trey, I appreciate you.
You hater.
All right, so that's round one. Now it's time for round two.
Round two, fight.
All right, Diesel.
The way you tease this, Cole, I hope you're coming at me with a really messed up piece of audio.
This audio.
Because I find all that stuff hilarious.
Well, that's what the question is. I have a piece of audio for you. And I want to know, is it okay to laugh at this piece of audio? I think it is one of the most viral pieces of audio from the draft. And I cannot wait to hear your reaction. So the question is, to Diesel, to the listeners, I'm going to play you a piece of audio. Is it okay to laugh? Because this is a family who misheard the question, or should you not laugh at this one? Here's I got to stop laughing because I won't be able to answer the question. Here is the audio.
Sandra, how far has this family come?
We came from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
When you think of
One more time. The reporter on ESPN is interviewing the mom of a player who just got drafted. And the question is,
Sandra, how far has this family come?
We came from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Diesel.
Why didn't she say we came from the hotel across the street?
She said, where did you come from? How far did you come on this trip? Is it okay to laugh at that?
Yes, it's okay to laugh. It's funny, man. It's funny.
I'm laughing.
Don't you remember that girl who was on, she was like on Miss America pageant or something, probably 15 years ago or so at this point? Like gorgeous girl. They asked her a question about ending world hunger or something, like, dumbass questions I always ask in these pageants. And she starts talking about people who have this and don't have this and such and so forth. And her answer makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But she's pretty, so like we let it go.
So
I think it's hilarious.
I laughed because it was wrong of me to laugh. I should not laugh. It's terrible for me to do so. It's not funny to laugh at someone else's expense.
You should troll whoever that kid is and go to his games and hold up a sign that said, "We came from Baton Rouge."
I'm trying to be serious because I don't think you should laugh at that. I don't think you should.
So the question is, do you believe that the mother misunderstood the question?
Oh, 100%.
Or that she's dumb? Don't laugh.
All right, round
Don't
three.
laugh, Cole. You can't laugh. I think it's
That's why I
perfectly
say
okay.
you can't. That is why I say you can't laugh.
I mean, that's the answer that Forrest Gump would give.
Sure.
Hey, Forrest, how far has the Gump family come? Well, all the way from Greenbow, Alabama.
Sandra, how far has this family come?
We came from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Jeez, man. I feel so bad for that mom. I really do, because that is viral. We came from Baton.
Do you think she measures that in hours or in miles?
It's a good question. That is Brian Thomas Jr.'s mother, Sandra Thomas, letting him know that they came from Baton Rouge. All right, it is now time for
Final round. Fight.
Diesel, you said something last week that I let go because we were on topic. I don't remember what we were talking about. But you said last week something that I majorly disagree with. I have a big problem with. You said a hot dog is indeed a sandwich. Did I hear you right?
I did say that.
Please explain to me that.
So this is not rooted in my opinion, okay?
Okay.
This is rooted in historical fact. I learned this. Remember those shows about like Modern Marvels, and they did one called Modern Marvels Foods,
Yeah.
right? And they were talking about the origin of the hot dog. And the hot dog came about when German immigrants were the ones moving into New York City, and they were the ones working construction, building the buildings. And it was an entrepreneurial German fella who decided, you know what? All these German workers who love their schnitzel, they need to have something that feels close to home to them. But they also needed more than just the meat, right? Germans love sausage. We all know this.
Sure.
So they said, well, we need to have something with some carbs to it, something with maybe a little veggies, a little flavor to it. So they decided then and there that they were going to create a sandwich for these Germans, and they put the wiener in the bun. Boom, that is a sandwich. I don't get how this is so hard for people to understand. Okay, what is a sandwich? A sandwich is 2 pieces of bread, right? With meat and other fillings in the middle.
But a bun's 1 piece.
But it's just got that little membrane of bread at the very end. So let me ask you this, Cole, and I'm sure this has happened to you more than once in your life. It's okay to admit it happens to all guys. If your wiener breaks through the bun,
yeah,
and it's now 2 separate pieces of bread,
I hate it.
Is that now a sandwich? Are you arguing with me that it is a sandwich when they're 2 separate pieces of bread?
Good question.
But it's not a sandwich when they're connected.
I'll say
at the
this.
very end?
I feel this way for a hamburger or a cheeseburger as well. I feel as if a hot dog, because I do like a good hot dog.
Yeah.
A hot dog should be in the category of its own. I don't think a cheeseburger is a sandwich.
So wait a minute. Whoa. You go to Subway sometimes, right? And
Yeah.
when they split the bread open and they fill it full of, it's still connected on the end. Is that not a sandwich? Because it's connected?
No, it's a sandwich.
What? But you just said the connection of the bread is
No,
what
it's a
makes
sandwich.
it not a sandwich.
A hot dog's not a sandwich.
It's a
Everybody
sandwich.
knows that.
It's a sausage sandwich.
71307. Let us know.
And
It's a
just
hot
because-
dog a sandwich.
Just because the bread is long and skinny doesn't make it less of sandwich bread. I mean, a baguette is a long, skinny piece of bread.
Yeah.
A sub sandwich is a long, skinny piece of bread. So is it because it's a round wiener that makes it not a sandwich filling?
I just think
what's your beef here? Is it with the bread or is it with the filling?
I think it's the item itself. The way it's shaped, it has to have its own category, man. You can't say it's a sandwich. Hey, let me have a sandwich. What kind of sandwich you want? Let me have that hot dog sandwich. That's not a sandwich.
You know, this is like the GIF versus GIF debate. We don't have to get into it today.
Sure.
Because this will take up an entire segment of the show. But the originator of the file format says that it's GIF. The originator of the hot dog said that it's a sandwich, so it's a sandwich.
Texter says Cole believes a hot dog is a taco. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Ooh, I'd be willing to try that.
A hot dog taco?
Taco?
I'd try it. I'd try anything.
I'm surprised, honestly, of all the white people taco joints there are in this town. You know, the bougie taco joints that charge you like $6 for a taco.
Yeah.
I'm surprised none of them have a hot dog in a taco.
Maybe you could create it and you get rich off of it.
Balls in your court.
Let us know what you think. Who won today's fight? 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Also, let us know on the stream. Diesel, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something that's never been done in the 5 o'clock fight history. I'm adding a bonus round.
What? Is that even legal?
I don't know, but we're going to do it.
Done?
I'm one to ask for forgiveness rather than permission. Here's this audio. Are you okay with an 18-game regular season?
I'd rather replace a preseason game with a regular season any day. That's just picking quality, right? So if we got to 18-2, that's not an unreasonable thing. The other thing it does, which I thought you were going to, is that ends up on President's Day weekend, which is a 3-day weekend, which makes the Sunday night, and then you have Monday off. So that's
Now we're cooking.
See,
now we're cooking. That is dirty pool on Roger Goodell's part to bring up something that he knows he's going to get fan support and groundswell behind when he just says it on the radio. It's dirty pool, right? Like it's like going into a crowd of people and say, "Hey, anybody want free beer?" Like nobody's going to say no to that. But in that sense, I'm okay with it because I'm not the one out there playing.
So you're okay with 18?
Yeah. I mean, I like a lot of what he had to say there. More meaningful football instead of meaningless football in the preseason games. I am for having Super Bowl Sunday be on President's Day weekend so that we get the Monday off after that.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Like I said, I'm not the one out there playing the games. I'm not the one out there putting my body on the line for another week.
You know, I hear you. I do not think that it's a terrible idea. I just don't love adding another week of physicality to what's already a physical league and a physical season.
It feels like they need to bump the roster sizes a little
Yeah.
bit for this,
I
right?
just don't. My biggest fear is, man, when it gets down to the bottom and the end of the playoffs and the Super Bowl, I don't want the best players to be hurt. I just don't. That's my fear.
And there is something to be said, Cole, for scarcity increasing demand. Why do I need to watch every single race on the NASCAR circuit if there's 30 of them? Why do I need to watch all of them? Why do I need to watch every playoff series in the NHL when teams under 500 are making the tournament, are making the playoffs? I don't. Scarcity makes it more watchable, more must see.
I think it's interesting. Listen, I'm all for cutting a preseason game. I hate the preseason.
They're pointless.
I hate it. President's Day weekend, I'm for that. Again, I just have a fear, and maybe it's never going to go away, but I just have a fear. I don't want to see the best players hurt.
I mean, are we ever going to see Roger Goodell backpedal on this if we're seeing an increase in injuries?
No.
Would he say, "Oh, wait, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't do this"? Because you know what the answer is. He goes to 18. He likes 18. And then one day he says, "You know what we should do? 19." And then do 20 games. And
That's my fear.
Games.
That's my fear. Is that not too many though?
It's way too many.
Oh gosh. I hope that doesn't be. I hope
Way
that's
too.
not the case.
But then again, like I said, I'm not the one who's putting his body on the line. I'm not the one getting CTE
Sure.
over this.
Sure. Madcraft said Cole had an opportunity there, but said no to more football. So Diesel wins 3-1. Cole round 3. Gordon says Diesel wins round 1 and 2. Cole wins 3. And another texter, Spartanburg J says Cole won because Diesel. Another texter asked the questions about your hot dog taco, soft shell or hard shell. I don't know the hot dog taco though. That you use the hot dog bun. Is that right? In your new creation?
No. You got to use a taco shell
and put the wiener inside.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm good. I'll pass.
Let's see. We got a text here. Where did it go? Trey says there's a place in the Hillcrest Shopping Center in Spartanburg called Taco Dog.
Go there very frequently.
Tell us more about this, Trey.
It's good.
Are there hot dogs in their tacos?
No, I think he's just giving a good recommendation. I don't think there's anything like that. That's a little far-fetched. They have good food though. Good food. Big fan.
I did go to I've been to the taco shop on Breaking Bad. You ever seen that show, Breaking Bad?
I have seen Breaking Bad.
There was a famous taco shop that's got a dog wagging its tail.
Really?
On the sign. I've been there.
Where's it at? Here?
No, it's in Albuquerque.
I was going to say I didn't know that movie was filmed here.
It's good. All of that stuff on Breaking Bad is all within like 4 miles of each other.
Really?
It's weird.
How about that?
It's all very tight.
Well, that's the 5 o'clock fight for today. I want to let you know that you can email Diesel at
diesel@thefanupstate.com. Just put the word fight as the subject line of your message, and we'll make it a fight.
We've had some good recommendations,
great
right?
at sending these things in.
Heck yeah. Let's keep it up, man. Let's keep up the suggestions and keep fighting every single day at 5 o'clock.
Let's do it.
All right, Diesel, what do you have coming up next for us on Wire to Wire?
So in honor of something that it's just a fight that I'm never going to win with you, with the NHL moving some teams around.
Yeah.
I want to know, I want to predict, I want to look at who we think might be the next city in America to lose their sports franchise.
That's not good.
Who's going to take it on the chin next? We're going to talk about that next here on Wire to Wire. I'm Diesel, he's Cole Bryson. You're the Tolos, and this is The Fan Upstate. It's Wire to Wire on the Fan upstate. Cole, we got a text message that you and I both have a problem with that came in stemming from the audio you played in the 5 o'clock fight, where we played audio of a reporter who asked a mother of a player who was getting drafted, how far has this family come?
Yeah.
And she said, we came from Baton Rouge, which both of us found hysterical.
It was funny.
Both of us looked at it in the sense of, well, maybe she just misunderstood the question.
Sure.
Like, it happens. It's a high pressure moment. Your kid, it's an exciting time. Your kid just got drafted. Exciting things are happening for your family. I don't think either one of us, and I have to go back to check the tape, but I can nearly guarantee you that neither one of us said anything whatsoever about the player's race
or upbringing.
And we got a texter who's texted in the same thing 3 times, copied and pasted. We got it, bro. We got your text 3 times. Texter says, the mother on draft night knew exactly what the reporter was asking and answered the question like that on purpose. Not every young black man getting drafted has some horror story of an upbringing. You guys need to check yourselves.
Yeah, I don't know what.
First of all, what the hell are you talking about, texter? First of all. Second of all, you're afraid to put your name on your text? You telling us to check ourselves, but you won't even tell us your name? Like,
Listen,
that's not cool, texter.
Number one, we appreciate you listening. Number two, neither one of us said anything about the upbringing of the player. It was a funny clip. It was viral on social media. We laughed at it. End of story. Move on. I mean, that's all it was. We never said anything about upbringing or anything like that. So we appreciate you listening. Hope you continue to listen. Hope we didn't, I know we didn't say anything that was offensive. So you again, just like the mother did, you may have misinterpreted what we said.
Yeah. I just wish you had the stones to put your name on your text. Texter. I mean, that's all I'm saying. We put our names on the show every single day, every 15 minutes. We put our names on this show. And you text in anonymously and say that we said racist things? Nah, dude. That doesn't fly here. That doesn't fly here. Anyway, Cole. So I've been a big proponent on these airwaves many times before, but I keep getting shot down by people with no vision who say that the upstate of South Carolina could never and will never support a pro level team, highest level pro team. Every time I say pro team, they're like, well, what about the Swamp Rabbits? They're pros. Yeah, they are pros. They're getting paid. You know what I mean when I say pro sports, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in Major League Baseball, NHL, NFL, NBA. That's what I mean. But, people with small minds, they don't want to see that happen here. It is what it is. The Arizona Coyotes, Cole, officially last week announced that they are moving to Salt Lake City. So I wanted to ask, I wanted to put on our hats here, our prediction caps. Which city will be the next one to lose its major sports franchise? Any and all sports. Pick a sport, whatever sport it is. Major sports. So we're talking MLS, MLB, NHL, NFL, NBA.
Yeah.
I don't think either one of us knows enough about MLS to say one of these teams is going to lose, or one of these cities is going to lose their team.
No.
However,
I have a small mind, so I wouldn't know anyways.
That league is so new.
Yeah.
That, you got to check yourself.
Yeah.
That league is so new that I don't think there's enough data on any of these teams to talk about moving the team. Like the Arizona Coyotes sucked for a long time. They moved. They wanted a new arena. They couldn't get it. They couldn't get the deal done, so they moved the team.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to look, Cole, at some of the worst teams in the leagues, in their respective leagues. Look at some of their attendance figures. And I wonder who is going to be the next one to go all major league and move the Cleveland Indians out of the city. And I would love to hear from you, Tolos, at 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. Make your predictions as well and show your work. Explain to us why you feel the way you feel. Which of these teams is going to be the next to leave their city? So this is according to Peaked, Cole, NBA cities who may be in danger of losing their teams, ranked 5 being least likely and 1 being most likely to lose their teams. So they put at number 5, the Sacramento Kings.
Of least likely?
Most likely. Of the 5 most likely teams to move, this is the least likely
gotcha,
to move.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So number 5, which would be, there's 32 teams in the NBA?
Yep.
This would be the 27th most likely team to move in the NBA. Sacramento Kings, number 5. They say this one's a stretch, but we got to put somebody at 5.
Yeah. 30 teams. I'm sorry.
Okay. Number 4, the Orlando Magic. They talked about Rich DeVos, his passing away in 2018. There's been rumors of the NBA wanting to move out of Orlando. Those rumors, I guess, were probably a little bit stronger a couple of years ago, especially after, Rich DeVos's passing. But they say they're in danger of the Orlando Magic leaving Orlando. Number 3, the Memphis Grizzlies. Number 2, the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't see how that one's possible.
I don't.
And then number 1 most likely NBA team to move is the New Orleans Pelicans.
Most likely NBA team. See, I would think Orlando's number 1 in the NBA. New Orleans, man, that city supports their sports teams.
Well, in 2023, Cole, here's some attendance numbers that may change your mind here. A little bit. This is just a little extra context for you, okay? 2023, snapshot. Just a snapshot. Lowest average attendance in the NBA, Charlotte Hornets at 16,448 per game. I watch a couple of Hornets games on TV every now and again. Ain't no way there's 16,000 people in that arena every night. That is bogus. They may be counting tickets sold, but they're not, counting butt cheeks and seats and then dividing by 2. Okay. The Memphis Grizzlies have the second lowest, followed by the Wizards, the Hawks, and the Suns, which that one shocks me.
Yeah.
The Suns having the 5th lowest attendance in the league in 2023, despite having stars on the team and despite the Suns.
I guess it's a desert effect.
Having been contenders. But the only team that shows up on both of these lists, Cole, are the Grizzlies. Second lowest attendance last year, 3rd most likely to move out of the NBA. That's according to Peaked.
Nobody wants to go to Memphis.
No.
That's the problem.
No. And so let's look at, again, this is an all leagues question. Everybody talks always about the Jacksonville Jaguars leaving Jacksonville because Shad Khan has flirted so much with the NFL overseas. He's sent the Jaguars to London more than any other team. The Jags have played in overseas more than any other team in the NFL. If you look at NHL hockey, the lowest attendance in the league, the lowest average attendance over the past couple of years have been the Buffalo Sabres, the Arizona Coyotes, who are relocating, the San Jose Sharks, the Winnipeg Jets, and the New Jersey Devils. Devils are never leaving New Jersey. That's not happening. San Jose, maybe, but that's kind of San Francisco's team. Is there a Major League Baseball team that you see?
Oakland is moving.
Yeah, okay.
To Vegas.
Is there another one behind that you think's possible? Trey points that out. The Oakland A's. Thanks, Trey.
Yeah.
But in my mind, that move's already happened.
Well, it is. Yeah, it is happening. I don't know. I would say I would have to go with in the MLB, maybe Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay probably without
Dodger
looking.
Stadium.
I've been. It's terrible.
And you've already got the Marlins not that far away.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But the Tampa Bay Rays are really good.
They just don't have the support. I don't know. I'm not looking at their numbers or anything. I would imagine they're probably at the bottom of the league, toward the bottom in terms of attendance. You're right. I went to that stadium.
Out of St. Petersburg and move it into Tampa proper.
Yeah. Bradenton, something like that.
Yeah.
Real nice area where the Braves play. The Braves play in Bradenton.
Put it up there near the Lightning Stadium. Where's that?
What is it?
Where the Lightning, the Tampa Bay Lightning?
I don't know. Tampa Bay. To answer your question, Diesel.
You telling me that Jerry World's in Dallas?
No, it is not.
Emily Arena is in downtown Tampa.
Okay.
So there you go.
You know what I've seen, and now that you say that, hockey arenas look small from the outside. That one looks really small from the outside.
Most of them seat only about 15 to 18,000.
Yeah.
Which, is NBA arenas have gotten huge
Sure.
over the years, seating like 20, 22, 23,000.
Yeah, I will be interested though to see in terms of the A's with them moving to Vegas.
I don't think it's going to be Charlotte though. I don't think
No.
the Charlotte Hornets. We've already seen the Charlotte Hornets move, go somewhere else and then come back. Got the name back. I don't know that it's going to be the Hornets. I think they're stuck there for a while. Sorry, old school Hornets fans. The team's not going anywhere. And if they do, you're never getting the Hornets name back.
I like the Hornets better than the Bobcats, though.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, that was rough. All right, coming up next, it is Baseball Nuggets. I'm going to give you a chance to react to what I have to say about the Braves, Clemson, South Carolina over the weekend, all in Nugget form. It's a quick hitting segment. We'll cover all the local baseball teams and even look at the new Division I baseball poll. Where's Clemson at? And where is South Carolina? He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate. All right, we had a pretty good weekend in the upstate, in the state of South Carolina. Depending on who you pull for, Diesel. If you're a Braves fan, it was a good weekend.
Yep.
Clemson baseball, good weekend.
Yep.
Questionable, again, not a bad call like the foul ball last week, but some questionable calls with Louisville and then a player getting ejected yesterday. Some weird things there. USC, South Carolina, no way they go take 2 of 3 against Kentucky, right?
A lot of dubs this weekend.
They did. So for those that follow their in-state programs, not so much for Coastal. Coastal dropped out of the top 25. Not a good weekend for Wofford baseball. They lost 2 of 3 to Western. Not a good weekend for Furman baseball either, Diesel. Sorry, too soon. Too soon. I'll quit. I'll quit. I might get a lot of text in on that if I keep going. But the Division I baseball rankings, as they do every Monday, came out today. South Carolina and Clemson are in them. Have you seen the rankings yet?
I have not.
Okay, then that's good. That's a good answer. That way I will allow you to guess where each team is. South Carolina, Diesel, in your opinion, you have not seen the rankings yet. Where do you think the Gamecocks land this week? They were, I believe last week, Diesel, they were 18 or 19? Somewhere around there?
Okay, before I get there, Cole, I do want to let you know that Coastal has lost 5 in a row, 2 to Creighton, and then they got swept by Troy over the weekend, 6-8, 4-11, and 3-15.
Yeah, not good.
South Carolina, I'm going to be willing to bet that South Carolina has moved up to 15.
Bingo. South Carolina
promise
is now 15. Clemson is now, let's see if you can go 2-0.
I'm going to say Clemson has moved up to 7.
4.
They were previously, what, 8?
I can't remember. I was trying to think.
I want to say they were previously ranked around 7, 8, 9.
They moved up a couple of spots.
So, okay. I didn't think that beating Louisville would move them up that far. I figured it would move them up, but not that far.
So A&M comes in once again as the number 1 team in college baseball. Arkansas still at number 2. 2 really good teams. Tennessee, 3. Clemson, 4. East Carolina, 5. Oregon State, 6. Florida State, 7. Kentucky, 8. After South Carolina just took 2 of 3. UC Irvine, 9. And Duke, 10. That's your top 10 in college baseball. Again, South Carolina's at 15 and Clemson's at 4. So, hey, we have both of our baseball programs in the upstate inside the top 15, which is huge. That's a big deal for our baseball in state. The Atlanta Braves, we'll start with them. They took 2 of 3 from the Guardians. Diesel, I said to you on Thursday or Friday that I was a little bit worried about this series because Cleveland's a good team, up-and-coming team in the AL. And Friday night, the Braves go out and just dominate 6-2. And then on Saturday, they drop Saturday's game.
Yeah.
So, as a Braves fan, I'm sitting there thinking, oh, man, hopefully
this is how you lose the series.
Yeah, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. You don't want to lose game 2. Braves lost 4-2. But last night, the pitching, once again, Morton, as we talked to Jake earlier from Locked On Braves, he talked about the pitching and Morton being a guy who's older, but the pitching for the Braves is still consistent enough to win a lot of these games. I think the common theme is in 2024, Diesel, the stars for the Braves that usually are stepping up haven't stepped up yet. Olsen's in a bad slump. Acuna he's playing average baseball, but you have guys who are stepping up. You have Ozuna, who's had a terrific season. The pitching's not been bad. When you have as stacked as a lineup as the Braves do, you can afford, as we've talked about, to go throughout the season, right, and not have to have all of your stars show up at the same time.
It was Olsen, Albies, and was it Arcia that's also slumping a little bit right now? Who is Jake mentioned 3 players. Either way, Cole, whoever that third player is when you're only getting production out of 2/3 of your lineup and you're still playing the best baseball in Major League Baseball.
It's good.
That's massive.
Well, that just shows you how scary, right?
Yeah,
that lineup
massive.
is.
So shout out to the Braves. And hey, I'm going to be willing to admit, Cole, I had a little faith on Sunday. I was watching that game. I was into the top of the 7th, the bottom of the 7th, or top of the 8th. And I thought, they don't really seem to have a whole lot of life in them. I'm pretty sure this game is over. And I turned it off, then it went 10, and the Braves pulled it out. So that is a team right now who is learning how to win in all phases of the game.
So
early, middle of the game, late in the game, extra innings. They're finding ways to produce. And as a Braves fan, I know that people want these dominant, like 8-2 or 10-5 kind of games. That's just not realistic to expect your team to be able to achieve that day in and day out.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially with the nature of, the pitching changes day in and day out. So you got to be excited, Braves fans, that you're gutting out wins that you maybe don't deserve to have. And we're going to replay that interview, by the way, with Jake Mastriani coming up at 6.
Here is the Braves starting rotation ERA. Max Fried, 4.9 ERA. Chris Sale, 3.69 ERA. Charlie Morton, 3.60 ERA. Reynaldo Lopez right now a 0.72 ERA, and Bryce Elder a 1.50 ERA. So even without Strider in the rotation, this Braves lineup, or excuse me, the Braves rotation rather, is still getting it done. That's all you have to do. Get it done. You don't have to be the perfect. You don't have to be the best. You just have to get it done.
Well,
and they've done that.
You know that you've got a lineup that when they get hot, when they're hitting the ball, and once Matt Olson figures out his issues, once Ozzie Albies figures out his issues, I mean, this lineup is going to be even more electric.
Yeah. So really good weekend for the Braves. And they are, as we said, Diesel are at Seattle tonight, 9:40 first pitch. Looking at the college teams, Clemson and South Carolina. Clemson now 34-9 overall, 15-6 in the ACC, with 2 ACC series remaining on the season. The season's getting to a close pretty quickly. Clemson and North Carolina both lead their divisions in the ACC. North Carolina's really, really good. So it's going to be tough. Clemson obviously won the ACC tournament last year. Clemson with wins over Louisville, 2 of 3. Now they turn their focus toward this weekend where they play Georgia Tech. Once again, a superior team. Clemson should have the advantage. You have to take 2 of 3. You have to keep winning. Yes, you have injuries. Yes, Will Taylor is now out for Clemson. But you've got Georgia Tech, Charlotte, Wake Forest, Boston College, and the season's over.
Yeah, it feels like you can really win a lot of ball games in that final stretch there. So
should be able to.
Yeah.
South Carolina Diesel with their 2 of 3. They're now 29-14 overall. They are 11-10 in conference play. I don't know if you remember or not, but when we had Aaron Fitt of D1 Baseball, he said, we asked him about Carolina hosting a regional, and said it needs to be 15 or so, conference wins to be in that conversation. The strength of schedule is there. The RPI should be there because of the schedule that they have to play. Right now, they're 11-10 in conference. So, as I talked about earlier, their schedule's so brutal. If they're at 11 now and we say they have to get up to around 15 wins to host a regional, you've got Missouri left, which they're a good team. They're not the best team in the SEC. Georgia, solid team.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee, number 3 team in the country.
Yeah.
So if you want to get to 15, if you feel like 15 or 16 is the magic number, you have to win 2 against Missouri and you have to win 2 against Georgia because, even though South Carolina's playing their best ball right now, it's a brutal SEC before May 21st gets here.
What's really interesting, we got to see where these series being played. If they're playing at Tennessee, good luck. You might get swept out of that series.
It's at Tennessee, yeah.
Oh, man. Best you can hope for there is maybe 1 out of 3. Tennessee is fantastic right now. But the good news is you're playing in the SEC, and you got so much respect for your conference as a whole that right now you're sitting 1 game above 500 in the conference, and you're top 15 in the country. So
you are.
You have that added little bit of cushion built in. And
as I said earlier, Diesel, talking about South Carolina's baseball schedule, the D1 baseball rankings that came out today, South Carolina has on their schedule number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 8, number 12, 17, 19, 23, and 24, all on their regular season schedule. You talking about brutal.
Yeah.
The
that's
SEC is not only the toughest in football, it seems like it's every sport now.
That is really, really tough. Hey, when we come back, we talked about it. The Braves and the white hot baseball they're playing right now, even with their pitching staff kind of up in the air,
Yeah.
kind of some big question marks there. We had a fantastic conversation earlier with Jake Mastriani, host of the Locked On Braves podcast. We're going to replay that for you next. If you missed it, you can catch it again right here on the Fan Upstate. out type of games early in the season? I mean, obviously the answer is you can't get to 90 or 100 games if you're losing series early, but can you quantify or attempt to qualify how winning early really affects a team's trends, momentum, motivation down the stretch?
It's definitely big. I mean, you want to win whenever, but especially, early in the season. The Braves got in this situation in 2021 and I believe 2022 as well, where they got off to some slow starts and then they really had to pick things up in the second half just to, in 2022, win the division over the Mets. In 2021, really just get into the postseason. And in 2022, it felt like they kind of just ran out of gas because they were working so hard to win that division. 2021, luckily, the rest of the division just didn't step up and kind of handed it to the Braves, and we know what happened from there. But you certainly want to get off to a good start, because one thing that it does, it allows for times in the schedule where you can skip starters or give them an extra day of rest. And the big thing for the key for the Braves is to make sure that rotation is as healthy as can be come the end of the season. And so when you get off to the hot start and, you get a little bit of a lead, it allows you to do things like that, to give guys in the rotation extra days of rest. And obviously winning breeds winning. You just want to have that winning mentality that you can always come out on top no matter what. You're never out of a ball game. And past two games were indicative of that. Look, Saturday they fell behind, came right back, tied it up, didn't get it done in extra innings. Do the same thing on Sunday, fall behind, come right back, tie it up, and then they do get the job done in extra innings. So it says a lot about this Braves team, and certainly getting out to a great start helps keep guys fresh.
Jake, it's interesting. By the way, this is Cole Bryson. Glad to have you on. It's interesting that you talk about that, because the Atlanta Braves fans haven't experienced a team really go wire to wire, if you will, from the full season aspect of it, because in 2021, the roster at the beginning of the season was a lot different than the roster was after the trade deadline, when Anthopoulos made some really big moves that eventually got the Braves over the hump. Do you think there's concern from Braves fans, though, just because they've seen time and time again winning during the regular season, winning 100 games, winning the division, all that's great, but it doesn't translate to the postseason?
It's definitely a worry, and it's certainly out there. I mean, I'm a kid of the 90s. I mean, I remember winning all those division titles, and what are fans of other teams and even Braves fans going to point to, well, you only won one World Series. And I feel like we're kind of in that same situation here, where the Braves are set up to have a really good run of getting to the postseason, especially with the expanded playoffs. But if you just get the one World Series, it feels like it's going to be kind of a letdown. And so there is that, I guess, mentality. I think it's more from a fan standpoint than anything, that, yes, we've seen this team have a lot of success in the regular season. What are you going to do in the postseason? And look, I'm kind of different in most fans in that I enjoy the 162. I think that's what's so special about baseball, is the 162 aspect of it. And that's generally going to tell you who the best team is. The postseason is for entertainment. It's for fun. It's for revenue, all of that. But I enjoy the 162. And look, you can't get to the postseason unless you're good in the 162. So I'm never going to get tired of that. Winning division titles, that is still very important to me. And it's the first step into getting that ticket into the postseason, as Brian Snicker always says. And then you see what happens from there.
Jake, Cole brought it up here, Alex Anthopoulos. I want you to go deep here. How are the players handling Alex Anthopoulos' contract strategy? Longer terms, less money each year, but still the big contracts. These guys are making an awful lot of money playing baseball. It's hard to fathom, Jake, in an ego-driven career path such as sports, where the constant drive is to be the highest paid player at a position just for the sake of being the highest paid player, that the Braves have tapped into a vein of unselfish players. Can you go into the strategy, how it's working, and how sustainable it's going to be over the long term?
I don't think every franchise can do this. If they could, we would see a lot more teams doing it, obviously. Look, it's hard to speak to it because I'm not necessarily in there. I'm not in the clubhouse every day, but just what you hear from players, they've created a culture there, and a winning culture, where it's about the team and it's not so much about the player. And guys want to be in that environment. And look, there's risk involved in it. I mean, as great as Acuna is, he's already had one major knee injury. If you were to have another one, who knows what that looks like. And look at the case in Spencer Strider, really the only pitcher that they've locked up to one of those team-friendly long-term deals. He's going to be out for essentially a year. And there's risk on the team side of things, but for the most part, I mean, Ozzie Albies has the most team-friendly deal in all of baseball. All-star player making $7 million a year. Look at Orlando Arcia; he's making $2 million a year, and he's an all-star player. Now, when they signed that contract, he hadn't necessarily reached that potential, but I think it's just a culture thing there. Players want to be there. There's a winning atmosphere there. You're going to be winning, and some of these guys are homegrown too. In the case of Michael Harris and Matt Olson, look, they probably have dreamed of playing for the Braves and playing for that franchise. And, even Austin Riley, he's a Southern kid as well from Mississippi. So I think that factors into it as well. Acuna and Ozzie, when they signed those deals, they were young. That's guaranteed money, and they're going to get opportunities to get a big deal. But I think a lot of it has to do with the culture that Alex Anthopoulos and the Braves have created there.
Jake Mastriani joining us on Wire to Wire. You can follow him on Twitter at ShortstopBall and at Locked On Braves, joining us right here on the Fan Upstate. Hey, Jake, with Strider out, obviously there's a contingent of Braves fans that want the organization to go get someone from the outside. But Max Fried showed you just a couple of days ago that, hey, everything might be okay on the home front, better than Braves fans realize. Where do you lean on that?
Nothing needs to happen right now is where I lean on it. But Chris Sale, I think he can still be very, very good. He has been very, very good. The Reynaldo Lopez one is the key for me because I can go to battle in the postseason with Max Fried if Max Fried is like he was the last time out. I can go to battle with Chris Sale. I'm a little worried about Charlie Morton, 40 years old. He's struggled with command. It's gotten worse the last couple of years. But if Reynaldo Lopez is that guy and he's my 3, then I feel a lot more comfortable about this rotation. I think it's likely that they at least go after some sort of mid-level starter at the trade deadline. But for the moment, you're going to see what Bryce Elder can give you. Can it be more like first half Bryce Elder? You're going to see what an Alan Winans and a Darius Vines can give you. I don't think those are guys you're going to count on in the postseason, but at least to get you through the regular season. And then who knows, at some point, maybe an A.J. Smith-Shawver, maybe a Hurston Waldrop steps up into that rotation. So I think there's enough internal options right now that they can go through and try to piece things together. And then obviously we'll reassess once we get to the trade deadline, but I wouldn't be surprised if they at least look to add kind of a mid-rotation starter in case something happens in that final 2 months, like has been the case the last 2 years. They've gone into the postseason with 2 of their rotation starters a little banged up, or in the case for Max Fried a couple of years ago, he was coming off a major illness, which, you can't really predict for that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they at least add a little bit more depth there.
You mentioned him, Jake. Reynaldo Lopez, fans and staff, everybody around that organization has to be just over the moon as far as what they've gotten out of him, a sub-1 ERA. But the weird thing is, Jake, he's not listed on the MLB Network's power ranking charts as a top 10 pitcher in the bigs. Why do you think that is? Is it just because he's not proven it over a full season that he's an elite starter, or is there something else going on in there that I'm not seeing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know why he's getting a little overlooked. The only thing I can imagine is I think most of the guys on that list have 5 or 6 starts at this point. Lopez only has 4, which is what I kind of talked about, the fact that the Braves are looking for opportunities to save some of these guys, save some bullets, give them extra days of rest. And they've certainly done that with Lopez, who's going from being a reliever to a starter. So yeah, that's the only thing I can figure is why he's not up there in the top 10 at the moment. It's just because other guys have gotten more starts than him and they're a little bit more proven. But the start to this year that he's had, I don't think the Braves could even have predicted a 0.72 ERA and a 0.88 whip. He's just been fantastic and doing it primarily with 2 pitches, a fastball slider combination, which we know another Braves pitcher that has been very successful in doing that. And I'm not saying he's about to become Spencer Strider, but certainly if you can locate those 2 pitches as he has and you have a good break on that slider that he has, then you can be successful. The only real question is how many times through a lineup can he do it? How deep in a game can he go? Well, so far he has checked all those boxes. He's gone at least 6 innings in all 4 starts and given up 1 earned or less in all those as well.
Jake Mastriani joining us on Wire to Wire. Jake, where do you stand on Tommy John, on the pitch clock? We've talked about it a lot on this program. There's no simple solution. It's happened for years. It doesn't seem like there's a fix to this, unfortunately, but we've had people say it's the curveball of Strider that he added. It's the pitch clock. Where do you stand on that?
So there's many factors that go into the increase in pitcher injuries that have been on the rise for several years, even going back before the pitch clock. I love to believe the pitch clock doesn't have much to do with it. I'm sure it's a small factor. The biggest thing for me is that pitchers are throwing max velocity all the time now. It's not like it was back in the day where you would sit 92, 93, and then you dial it up to 95, 96 when you needed it. It is max effort all the time. And the arm just wasn't made to handle that type of workload. It wasn't made to handle that type of effort over and over again like that. And when you're doing that and you're doing something that the body wasn't meant to do, you're going to have more and more injuries like this. So again, that's one of several factors. You talk about the spin on the baseball and pitchers, doing everything that they can, to rotate the arm to get as much spin. That certainly has something to do with it. You've heard Tyler Glasnow and others talk about the fact that without the use of some sort of tacky substance to get better grip on the ball, that's causing some of the injuries as well. So there's many different things to go into it. But the simplest thing for me that I point to is the fact that pitchers are doing something on countless occasions that the arm's just not designed to do. And the more you do that, the more injuries are going to occur.
He's just passed the 10,000 mark on YouTube. Congratulations on that, Jake. What's your best guess on what's going on with Matt Olson? He was in a pretty deep slump. He has 3 hits in his last 4 games, so it feels like maybe he's clawing out of that deep hole just a little bit, but the average is still down. Do you see it as a simple case of not seeing the ball very well? Is there something else going on?
So the only concern I have with Matt Olson right now is just the strikeouts. We're seeing too many strikeouts again, which is what we saw last April when he struck out 41 times. So that is my only real concern. When he is making contact, he's still 97th percentile in average exit velocity, 94.4 miles per hour. He's still 85th percentile in barrel percentage at 12.9. He's still 97th percentile in hard hit percentage. So he is still making really good contact. Some of it is just the balls aren't flying right now, whether that's the weather, whether that's Major League Baseball's tampering with the baseballs again, I don't know. But all that's kind of factoring into him having some bad luck at the moment. Combine that with the fact that he's just striking out way too much. And again, we saw this from him last April, and then he turned it on to be maybe the best power hitter in the game last year. So I am not concerned about him in the slightest, because when he is making contact, he is still barreling up the baseball at a high rate. It's just the fact he's got to cut down on those strikeouts and the swing and miss.
Now, Jake, in an interview setting, we can always try to come up with the most interesting storylines that we can think of to ask you about, but you're the expert here. I want to get an open-ended question here into you. What are you tracking right now that really has your attention that, maybe Cole and I didn't ask you about?
I mean, it's the obvious one, but I'm tracking Ronald. I mean, it's look, I'm definitely not concerned about him. Ronald Acuna Jr., but he's the most exciting player in baseball. We haven't gotten that so far this season, and he is one too where it's just the velocity numbers aren't really there, and even more so than Olson. But what made Ronald so special last year is that he cut down that strikeout rate 10%, and now we're seeing it back up in the 23-24%. And, 1 home run so far this year, that's just not what you expect to see from Ronald. He's getting hammered up and in with fastballs, which has always been the place to get him. But now it just seems like every pitcher is dotting him up and in with upper 90s velocity, and he just hasn't been able to time that up yet. So that is the one thing that I'm watching, because he is the most exciting player in baseball. He is the guy that's getting on base and getting things started for this Atlanta Braves lineup. But, I mean, if you would have told me the Braves are sitting here with the best record in baseball, and Riley, Olson, and Acuna have a combined 6 home runs as we're almost at the end of April, I would have thought you were crazy. So the fact the Braves are where they are, and 3 of their top 4 hitters in the lineup haven't even really gotten going yet, I think speaks to just how deep and how good this Braves team is. But certainly from a fan perspective, I want to see Ronald Acuna Jr. turn back into the Ronald Acuna Jr. we saw last year. And I believe it'll happen, but this kind of, I don't even want to call it a slump, because for most players, it's still really good numbers, but I want to see him turn back into that MVP player.
He is Jake Mastriani, the host of the Locked On Braves podcast. I love your work, Jake, and I hope like hell we can bring you on a couple more times in the near future and really kind of make this a big thing. I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much, pal.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. That is Jake Mastriani at Shortstop Ball. If you want to follow him directly on Twitter at Locked On Braves. Again, I told you he had 10,000 subscribers.
That is Jake Mastriani, the replay interview we had for you today. An incredible interview. I love what he said there about the Braves' three best players, Riley, Acuna, and Olsen, only having a total of 6 home runs on the season. That is, he said it best. If you would have told him that to begin the season, and they would still be the best team in baseball, that don't add up quite often. However, that goes to show that Alex Anthopoulos, Diesel, has done a fantastic job of building the roster. I'll tell you what else I like that he said. I asked him about the pitch clock, timing, everything like that. And, you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. We said the exact same thing. It has nothing to do. I don't want to say nothing. It has little to do with the pitch clock. These guys, he hit the nail on the head. They're throwing high velocity 99% of pitches. Back in the day, pitchers did not throw 99, or they didn't throw that high of velocity every single pitch. I think that's where it comes from.
I believe Tom Glavine was throwing in the upper 80s most of the time. Occasionally, he'd gas one up and get into the low 90s to mid 90s, but that was rare.
Yeah.
I feel like one of these days, Cole, there's going to be a pendulum swing back to the finesse style of pitching. Maybe not.
I hope so.
Maybe not a lot of guys averaging in the low 80s, but certainly back down to the mid 80s to upper 80s for a majority of their pitches. And they're going to have to learn to get, their control back so that they don't have to throw that hard every single time. I mean, it's like a singer with their voice. You stress it out. Eventually you're going to have vocal problems, right? You have to learn how to sing sustainably night in and night out for years.
Yeah.
You can't just push yourself that hard every single
perfect. Look at there. Look at that.
You can't push yourself like that every single day.
You got to take it easy, Diesel.
Expect it to be able to hold up. But he said it himself, without sticky stuff, without spider tack on the ball, a lot of these guys are having a hard time. I mean, we learned a couple of years ago when Major League Baseball finally banned the spider tack. We learned that these guys were having to grip the ball so much harder to be able to achieve the spin rates that they were accustomed to.
Well, I hope you're right. I hope that one day we do see a shift back that way. I'm afraid we won't, because it's like the text we got a couple of weeks ago from the professional player, the former professional player that texted in and said, look, it's all starting at the lower levels,
Yeah.
They're being trained this way.
They're prioritizing these stats, going after spin rate and whiff rate and all this kind of thing.
A good text just came in. A buddy of mine, Will, said, can you name a current top-level pitcher that doesn't throw consistently in the mid to high 90s? It's not in today's game. I mean, the Bartolo Colons are few and far between, right? The former Atlanta Brave that's been with every single Major League Baseball team, it feels like, in the league. Those aren't there anymore. Like the 80s, and then as Jake said, you'll take it up to 90 like Glavine and those. It just, I'm telling you, you can blame the pitch clock all you want. You can blame Strider and is adding his curveball. That ain't it. You're pitching at a high level in an unnatural motion that the body's not accustomed to. It wasn't made to do that. And you can blame, well, they're not getting the grip. They need the sticky stuff on the ball to get a better grip. I'm just telling you, you keep throwing higher, you keep seeing more injuries.
The answer is easy, right?
Yeah.
It's right there in our faces. We could either keep trying to add ways to get around this issue, like, hey, let's allow them to use illegal substances like sticky stuff.
I would be interested to see that.
Let's allow them to scuff the ball, or let's change the height of the laces on the ball, which are all ways to get around the fact that these guys are gripping the ball extra hard. They're throwing the ball extra hard. And if they just didn't do that, if they learned to work their locations even more, then they wouldn't have this issue.
It would be
Take
interesting.
Just a little bit off of it, and you alleviate the biggest source of the problem.
It'd be very interesting to see if allowing the sticky stuff would have any effect on it or not in terms of grip, because that's an excuse people love to throw out there. And I don't know that it would. I just think it'd be interesting. I think, like we talked about last time, you need to start eliminating things, right? Eliminating steps and see where you end up. I just don't think the MLB's I don't think they care about that. Frankly, they only care about the quality of the product itself. And you know,
it's an element of the game that people have come to expect.
It is, and expect and accept, sadly.
Sure.
All right, coming up next, we will give you an NBA playoffs update. What I saw last night in that late game that was just the most embarrassing performance by one of the greatest scorers of all time in Kevin Durant. I'll tell you what, man, not very impressed. Not very impressed. Also, a little NASCAR, a little split segment, a little Denny Hamlin as DB just chimes in on the stream. We'll do that as well. Coming up next, Tease Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate.
Manager of the Ravens.
How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing good. How would you feel about coming to Baltimore? Yeah.
I swear to God, I got a good one. I swear to God, Coach. All right, y'all got the best one, Coach. I swear to God, I'm the best cornerback. I swear. I'm not gonna let you down. I'm not gonna let you down, Coach. I swear to God. I swear, Coach. I swear.
Well, that's great to hear. And listen, I'm actually not the coach. I'm the general manager, but Coach Harbaugh is going to want to hear that.
So that was Nate Wiggins, Diesel, former Clemson Tiger. Number one, he swears. Number two, he thought the owner was the coach. Unfortunately, that was not Jim Harbaugh. You think Nate was nervous
John
there?
Harbaugh.
John, sorry.
See, look at you did it too.
Jim, John. Dang.
Yeah. Now,
I'm going to do
look,
that a lot.
Do I really expect a 21-year-old kid to know every GM and coach by
Sure.
heart?
No.
And then to know, like, in that moment when you're expecting the biggest phone call of your life to not potentially make a mistake?
Those are the best, man.
It's less egregious than how far has your family come? Well, we came from Baton Rouge.
That's great. So many good audio clips. We've heard Will Shipley. We've heard, was it Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Caleb Williams?
Now, what's better? What's better? These phone calls?
Yeah.
Where crazy stuff happens in these interviews. Or you remember in the past when you would see like Russell Wilson's ex-wife?
Yeah, that's not
just
good.
like losing her mind. Oh my God, I just found out my husband's going to Seattle.
So what's
She has the
better?
teeth on her?
The real question is, what's better, the reaction calls or this?
Pinch yourself.
Say it one more time.
So you woke up a Carolina Panther this morning. Did you have to pinch yourself a little bit?
Oh no, man. I woke up ready, man. I got a call right after I got dressed. They was coming to pick me up at 9:30 in the morning. I told them I'm gonna be ready.
Xavier Leggette's accent, man's the best.
Man, this dude's gonna have to start gambling and then get an interpreter because nobody can understand what he's saying.
I love it. I absolutely love the Mullins, South Carolina accent.
I've got a good buddy who listens to this show. And if he listens, he'll know exactly who I'm talking about here. His dad has that exact same accent.
Is he from here?
Yeah, he's from Simpsonville.
He's
from Simpsonville.
That's wild.
Every time I used to go over there every Saturday and watch college football at his house in his garage. And he had a fantastic setup, bunch of sofas, huge, like 80+ inch TV.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have like another TV set up beside it so we could watch 2 games. And that's how he sounded, man. We'd talk trash.
I love it.
Hey, man, what you think about them Gamecocks?
It's the best. It's the best. Our Daily Wires coming up in the very next segment. But first, let's get you caught up on what happened over the weekend with the association as well as what happened in Dover. We talked to Shane Connick on Friday, Diesel, and for the 3rd time this season, Denny Hamlin, whether people like it or not, has won again. DB on the stream says, go Denny, all in. Denny Hamlin is the most hated driver in NASCAR right now by far, but I have news for you. Not only is he the most hated driver, people may not like me saying this, but he's by far the best driver in the sport.
I think he should change his name to Darth Hamlin.
He should. He should. He definitely has the hate to go along with it. I can tell you that. Whether it's him winning this week or the team that he owns winning last week, it's been a couple of really good weeks for Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan. So Hamlin wins at Dover. Pretty boring race from yesterday. Not a ton of excitement. A lot of similarities, not in the track itself, but in how the cars run at Dover compared to how they run at Bristol. Believe it or not. Again,
a lot of banking there at Dover.
Sure.
It helps, man.
Sure. So Denny Hamlin, again, 3rd time this season. He's done it once again. And in the NBA last night, Diesel, I stayed up till almost 1 o'clock this morning watching the Suns and Timberwolves. The Suns and Timberwolves last night was not a good game. The Timberwolves swept the Suns 122-116. Okay, let me backtrack. It was a decent game, but it was not a good outcome. Diesel, do you know how many rings, championships, Kevin Durant has outside of Steph Curry?
He never won any in Brooklyn. I'm going to say 0.
You would be correct.
Hey.
So Kevin Durant, for as good as Kevin Durant is, right?
I was trying to remember where else has he been because he's bounced around.
OKC, Golden State,
Yep.
Brooklyn, Phoenix, and am I missing one? Am I missing one? Maybe I'm missing one, but that I know 4 for sure. As good as a player as he is, Diesel, one of the best scorers of all time, just an outstanding scorer, a really good passer. I love Kevin Durant. But when we have the GOAT conversation all the time between Michael and LeBron and, you know, the Kobes of the world, don't at some point you have to, like, carry your team, carry your franchise, and do something to be considered one of the greats? Kevin Durant now has 0 rings without Steph Curry. He got swept by the Minnesota Timberwolves. This team, Diesel, consisted of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. 3 NBA All-Stars. 2 of 3 may go down in the Hall of Fame. Really good players. Really good players. And they could not beat Minnesota and Anthony Edwards not one single time. So KD gets bounced from the first round. Everyone wants to talk about how good of a player KD is. But what I'm here to tell you is, Diesel, without Steph Curry by his side, KD's not a champion. And that's not an opinion. That's a fact.
Yeah.
He's 1-0.
He's had a lot of really good players around him, and it's
A
been
lot.
absolutely nothing when he's the guy. You may have been thinking, because you were right, he's only played for 4 teams.
Oh, is that right?
But technically, he was a Seattle Supersonic for a
When he's
minute.
drafted. Is that right?
Yeah, when he was drafted, they were still in Seattle.
Gotcha.
And then he played, obviously, with Oklahoma City.
You know what's crazy? And I know
think we should bring back the Supersonics. I love that
I do too.
name.
I do too.
I mean, the old school Sean Kemp days.
Yeah. I like
That was my
Supersonics. What's wild is, and I know these guys, like people will say, well, they weren't in their prime yet. Can you imagine if LeBron James, Diesel, had played on the same team with James Harden and Russell Westbrook and never went to a championship or won a championship? It'd be pretty embarrassing. Well, not only has Kevin Durant done that, he went to Brooklyn with Kyrie Irving and James Harden, couldn't win there, goes to Phoenix with Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Phoenix, a championship caliber team, gets swept in the first round. Not a good look for Kevin Durant. His legacy is already cemented as one of the best scorers of all time. But when it comes to championships and carrying teams, he has 0 experience in that category. 0. So last night.
Isn't it incredible what Brooklyn did? It's almost like they were the island of misfit toys, a bunch of guys with bad attitudes. They put them all on one team, hoping that, you know, all of these bad attitudes would combine to be some sort of Decepticon to go out and just lay waste to the league.
Well,
and it just wasn't.
What's that show
Sorry.
you? Just because a lot of times we've seen this now with him in Brooklyn and now in Phoenix, you can have great players, but you have to have depth. Phoenix has no depth.
Yeah.
You have to have bigs. Phoenix has no bigs. Big man still matters in the current NBA. The Knicks are going to win their series. They're up 3-1 over the 76ers. Joel Embiid obviously dealing with some injuries. That series is pretty much over. Clippers, Mavericks is now tied at 2. Diesel, Indiana leads Milwaukee 3-1. Didn't see that coming. Tonight, however, should be a very interesting slate of games. Boston, Miami. Without Jimmy Butler, Miami was told they were going to be swept. They won 1 game. I like Boston tonight. They're favored by 10.5. 10.5 points.
Probably win by 20.
They could. They could. Thunder Pelicans tonight. Thunder leads that series 3-0. So New Orleans, without Zion, he got hurt in the play-in game. They've looked like a completely different team. They're probably going to have their season come to an end tonight, Diesel. And then lastly, at 10 o'clock tonight, it pains me to say this. It really, really does. But LeBron James and the LA Lakers are probably going to have their season come to an end tonight as well. They're down 3-1 to the Denver Nuggets. I don't see them being able to go and take another game.
If you're Zion Williamson,
Mhm.
and I know what the modern NBA fan will say. If you're Zion Williamson and you're injured, but you're like 90%, we don't know where he is coming back from his injury. Do you go out there and play knowing that if you don't, your team will almost definitely lose? Like, do you go out there and play at 90% to maybe try to continue your season?
I wouldn't.
Or do you shut it down for the season?
I shut it down.
Oh, God. This is what I hate about modern sports.
He's just so – it's because of his upside. Like, his upside is
What
so –
upside is there? He barely plays.
Well, when he does, when he's healthy, his upside is so high, potential so high. Like, I'll be honest with you. If I'm Zion, again, he got drafted by New Orleans, so that's where he landed, obviously, Diesel. But Zion, first few years of his career, did not take care of his body. This was his best year. He is now to the point where he's got to start, like, winning and winning at a high level. I don't want to say carrying teams. I don't know that he re-signs with New Orleans, a second deal, a second term.
You think he'll chase a super team?
If I were him,
and he'll be the next Kevin Durant. We'll say he
Well,
couldn't do it by himself.
I don't know if I were him, I don't know that I would chase a super team, Diesel, but I would definitely. I'll tell you this: if I'm Zion Williamson, I want to go somewhere where they're a contender. I'll tell you where I think would be the perfect landing spot would be New York. The Knicks are a really good team.
He flirted with them a while back too.
He did. New York. Jalen Brunson's carrying that team to unmeasurable heights. He's finally the guy. You have a couple of injuries. And that team's really, really good. I would love to see Zion go to a contender because Diesel, Zion, even in his current condition, if he stays healthy, he could still elevate a team from being a contender to a serious contender because he is that good when he's healthy. Again, keyword, when he's healthy. He had 40 that night against LA before he got hurt. The best game he's had all season long.
I just can't help but think Zion Williamson will go down as one of the most overhyped and biggest busts of the last 25 years.
The way it's trending, I don't want to say that. I don't want to admit it, but no, the way it's trending,
like
that's tough.
Where's the heart of a lion? Where is the I'll do anything to help my team?
I hope that
That's
changes.
not what it is. It's what can I do to help myself, and what can I do that won't injure me more for the future so that I can be available for the future when another injury is going to pop up and he's going to be unavailable again. Here I am putting on my conspiracy hat.
Yeah.
I don't trust Zion. I don't trust Zion loves basketball. I'm sure he likes basketball. I'm sure at one point it was fun for him, but I don't get that he doesn't have any of that Mamba mentality. He has no Kobe in him. He's got no Michael Jordan in him. He's got none of that.
I don't think you're far off. I mean, here's the problem. He was so he was so hyped coming out of Spartanburg Day School that he went to Duke, and he already at that point, Diesel had tremendous expectations to live up to. And guess what? He did at Duke. He lived up to him at Duke. For the 1 year he was there, he was phenomenal.
I mean, it was the biggest story in sports when he blew through a shoe.
Sure. However, NBA is not college. You got to be a dog. You got to be a dude to go play in the league, right?
Yeah. And look, there's no such thing as an infinite career.
No.
In sports, you will eventually get old,
and
you will eventually lose a step, and you gotta make hay while the sun is shining, right?
Well, you're exactly right.
The sun's going to be going down on Zion's career before long if he never gets his ass out on the court.
He set himself back a lot by not treating his health serious. He really did. He set himself back a good bit by not taking his health serious in his first few years, and that definitely is not a good start. Still
Matt
some
Kraft
time
says
left.
he's a big body. He needs to rest to 100%. He has a higher chance of re-injury.
That's the scare. He's so injury prone. I hate to say it. He is injury prone.
Trey asked the question, would Zion make Charlotte a contender?
Not by himself. Maybe a couple other pieces.
I'm not sure the second coming of Michael Jordan would make Charlotte a contender.
They need more than Zion.
Brandon Gibson is a really compelling player, and he had himself a fantastic rookie season.
They need more.
But he and Zion alone, I mean, this is the era where you can't do it with a duo.
No.
I think they'd be a much better team. They'd win a lot more games.
Sell tickets.
They'd sell tickets. Would Zion dress and come out to games?
I love it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be a contender, no. Not in the East, not with Boston, not with New York. They would still need more pieces. They need a third. And listen, Zion can be a 2. Hopefully one day he can be a 1. But to answer your question, Diesel, right now you can't say he's not a bust. I hate to say that. I hate to be Debbie Downer, but he's hurt himself.
When we come back, Cole, we'll take one more look at our daily wires, get you caught back up on the buzz that's happening out there in sports, and we'll put a bow on this show. Show number 26 here on Wire to Wire. Remember, you can always find podcasts from Wire to Wire on the free Odyssey app. AUDACY is how you spell it. I always have to teach people how to spell it, Cole, because it's not a real word.
Oh, it's not?
No, it's not. It's not. If you had been in the engagement survey meeting last week that we had.
Funny guy.
Yeah, if you've been in that meeting, our GM, Steve Senecroppy, he's a funny guy too. He said 4 people said they were joining the meeting virtually, even though there was no virtual option to join the meeting. He's like, I don't know what those people are doing right now, but they're not in the meeting.
I guess I was one of those.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out real quick to DB, Madcraft, and Trey still in the chat. DB said, good meeting you at the draft party, Cole. Good to meet you as well, DB. Hope you can come out to Ingalls next week
in Spartanburg.
Not this week,
the
right?
Warren H. Abernathy's location. 8004 Warren H. Abernathy Highway, Boulevard, Place, Court.
Yeah. Not this week, though.
No, it's not this week. It's next week.
Next
It'll be Wednesday, the 8th.
So you can go there this Wednesday. We just won't be there.
That's correct.
That's the west side of Spartanburg location.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah.
Cool deal.
Yeah. So let's take a look around at what's going on in sports. Cole, these are your daily wires. The Atlanta Braves took 2 out of 3 from Cleveland over the weekend. 6-2 Braves in game 1, 4-2 Guardians in game 2. That one went 11 innings. And game 3, 4-3 Atlanta in 10. I'll be real with you. I lost faith. I lost hope.
Yeah.
And I turned off the game towards the end of it. I mean, I was out and about doing things, but I turned it off anyway and missed the furious comeback for the Atlanta Braves. So maybe that's what I need to do more often to help the Braves win is not watch.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, for a sport that's so based on superstition, why couldn't you say that me not watching actually has a cosmic effect on the game?
No, I like it. Just keep it going.
It could happen. Clemson has moved up to 4th in the D1 baseball poll. They took 2 of 3 from Louisville over the weekend. South Carolina took 2 of 3 from Kentucky. They were number 4. Kentucky were. South Carolina moved up to number 15 with that series win. 4 local products from the upstate were selected in the NFL draft this past weekend. Southside High School's Jalen Calhoun signed with the Lions. Boiling Springs Storm Duck signed with the Dolphins. Big fan of his brother Clifton. Greenwood Sam Pinckney signed with the Panthers. And Woodruff's Marcellus Dial signed with the Patriots.
Heck yeah. Shout out to those guys.
Yeah, is this something we're doing now? Putting music under the wires? Yeah, I like it.
Just a little
a little ambiance. Okay. Clemson's Ruka Rororo was selected 35th.
I love that name.
Overall to the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, I mean, Chris Berman. Where's Chris Berman when we need him? Row your boat.
He can
gently down the draft. Clemson's Will Shipley was selected 127th overall to the Eagles. Xavier Thomas 138 to the Arizona Cardinals. Our apologies to you, Xavier, having to go play in Arizona. And South Carolina's Spencer Rattler went number 150 to the Saints. We talked about that earlier in the show. We like that selection for Spencer Rattler a lot.
I do, man.
Derek Carr is old. Derek Carr
and he's not good.
Old. No, he's not good.
Not only is he old, he sucks.
Yeah. And who was the other quarterback on the roster there? Do you remember?
Taysom Hill?
Taysom Hill. I think Spencer Rattler has a very good chance.
Well, listen, Taysom
to start next season.
Taysom Hill Diesel's always been like a Swiss Army type guy. Can run, he can throw, but I'll tell you this, head to head, I'll take Rattler and his arm over Taysom Hill any day.
Ooh, now I'm trying to think, Cole. How would we rank the quarterbacks in the NFC South right now? Maybe that's a conversation for the show tomorrow.
Not a bad one.
Since the Atlanta Falcons now have 2 quarterbacks. And the unfathomable decision to go Michael Penix Jr.
Be a good conversation.
23 years old already.
So you'd have who?
When you've got Kirk Cousins on a 4-year deal.
Bryce Baker,
Kirk.
Michael Penix. And Drew
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we should. You know what we should do? We should rank 1s and 2s.
Yeah,
best quarterbacks in I don't even know who's the QB2 in Carolina right now.
Andy Dalton.
Yep.
Andy Dalton. Andy freaking
Red
Dalton.
Rocket.
Yes.
Andy Dalton.
Yes.
hey, I was the one who said Andy Dalton should be playing more last year, and dang it if he didn't look really good against the Seahawks when he actually played. They didn't win the game, but he looked a lot better than Bryce. He had poise in the pocket. Jeremiah Trotter was selected number 155 to the Eagles. South Carolina's Marcellus Dial, 180 to the Patriots. Clemson's Tyler Davis, 196 to the LA Rams. Good move for him. Lamont Paris signed a monster transfer over the weekend. Former Wofford Terrier and former Alabama Crimson Tide.
He's cooking, man.
Elephant. What would you call it? Like you call somebody?
I was thinking of the same thing earlier.
How would you call someone a Crimson Tide?
Did you not hear me? I was like former Terrier and former
Tide.
I have no idea.
Tide Pod. I don't know.
I don't know.
Nick Pringle. That's the point. Nick Pringle is going to South Carolina. Man, the Gamecocks roster is sneaky good right now.
You think?
Sneaky good.
Cam Scott.
Lamont Paris isn't done yet.
That's scary, man.
All he's got to do, if he picks up a good big, somebody who's about 6'10", 6'11", that's a scary good basketball team.
Yeah.
Going into next season. Atlanta is in Seattle tonight. Max Fried on the mound, 9:40 Eastern.
Ooh.
First pitch, that will be a 6:40 West Coast time.
Man.
First pitch. There you go.
That's a late one.
Wires.
We'll see if I can stay awake. I don't know. I'll try it. So here's the deal.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you I won't.
The only reason I'll be awake is because I do or I will watch LeBron in what could be his last game ever. Think about that. How about that for a question? Could tonight be LeBron's last game ever?
I was watching the clip that kept going viral of LeBron losing his mind.
Yeah.
Right in front of the bench, there was a play, and he's screaming.
Jumping up and down.
Review that bleeping play.
Yeah.
There was that play, and then there was another one of Russell Westbrook doing basically the exact same thing. I mean, I think that's one of the big reasons why a lot of people have been turned off about LeBron James.
Yeah.
Like he projects this squeaky clean, I'm a good guy attitude.
Well, he is a good
image.
guy.
Yeah. But when we see him on the court, all he's doing is complaining. All he's doing is screaming at the refs. When this dude has gotten call after call after call after call his entire career, to me, I think, it paints him in a negative light down the stretch in his career. You certainly, you don't want to ask somebody to stop being a competitor, right? You don't want to say, hey, stop fighting for plays, stop fighting for calls. But it's the whiny, crying side of LeBron that I think is hurting him a lot.
I just think he's earned it at this point. I know a lot of people are turned off by it. I get it. I really do. All right. Tomorrow, Mark Kingston, South Carolina baseball coach, 5:30, plus a ton of content that you do not want to miss. He's Diesel. Great job as always. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate.
Stream. Thank you, fellas. Mad Cross, Spur Daddy, Trey, all of you, Dan B, all of you will be back here tomorrow on Wire to Wire. Thanks for watching.